Good morning. Live from beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan, in America's largest college football stadium, this is WCBN Sports coverage of Michigan football as the Wolverines take on the Huskies of Connecticut. I'm Owen Crain, aside Matthew Levy. Matthew, we have got ourselves a game ahead of us.
Yes, we do, and I'm very excited. Great to be back on a Michigan football game in the big house. This crowd is going to be raucous today with two teams ready to go. It's another warm day. I think probably the last summer day, summer weekend, summer game day for the Wolverine fandom. Crowd's starting to pack in, but very excited for this one. Should be a fun one, Owen.
Absolutely, and our last game before the Wolverines get into Big Ten play, the Huskies of the University of Connecticut. And before we get into our scouting report on Connecticut, let's talk about Michigan's fabled QB competition. We finally have reached the end of it. J.J. McCarthy will be starting today. But first, your thoughts on how that QB competition played out.
Well, Owen, I think personally, I didn't love the decision from Jim Harbaugh to leave it for the first 2 weeks, let the public make the decision, as he said. But I guess there was no choice with J.J. McCarthy's injury coming into training camp. But at the end of the day, you look at this offense, you look at the first 2 weeks, you look at the breadcrumbs starting to file in. You look at last year of who was going to be the starting quarterback this year. Despite all of Cade's accomplishments, we knew he was the bridge quarterback to this guy. The first ever 5-star recruit for the Michigan Wolverines. The shiny new toy in J.J. McCarthy. And he was unbelievable last week. #1 PFF ranked quarterback. We've heard it all, right? We've heard his beauty, his running the football. He opens up the offense. He plays off the speed. We've heard it all. But my question, Owen, how does he do when he's faced with adversity? Because in the one game where he was faced with adversity last season against Michigan State, he had 2 fumbles. And that's the reality of the situation. So, how does he face adversity? If it comes today, they're down. UConn kind of stops the run a bit, which we'll get to later. How does he get to handle himself? How does he be a leader for this team as really not a captain? How does that dynamic play out? I'm very curious, but I'm expecting J.J. McCarthy to have a big game once again.
Absolutely. I hear and agree with everything you're saying. I don't think the Huskies will be the team to test him, but I do think that is a big storyline as we head forward in the season and into Big Ten play. So, Before we really focus in on the game, too, let's talk a little bit more about that QB contest. Cade McNamara, some people in the crowd were not the friendliest with him last game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was very disappointed. I'm a big Michigan fan, right? I've been a Michigan fan for my whole life. But the fact of the matter that they decided to boo him last week, this guy led you to beat Ohio State. He led you all year last year. He led you to a Big Ten championship. But yet you decided, of course, you had to switch quarterbacks, but despite his up and down so-and-so play to start the first 2 weeks, where it wasn't even that bad. You just saw J.J. McCarthy. The fact that they booed him, I was very disappointed as a Michigan fan, but I expect that to change. We've heard all the critiques this week from every national college football analyst. They were mad at the Michigan fans, too, so I expect that to change. But Cade McNamara, it's going to be very interesting to see how he fits in this team. He is still a captain. He is still in a very integral part to this team. I expect him to get some playing time in the second half today. So it's going to be very interesting. How does he handle himself? I think he'll be fine because he's a leader. He's been the man of the room, and I expect him to blend just really fit in pretty seamlessly. But you never know. When a guy takes your job, I just feel for him, and I wish him all the best. I really do.
I wish him the best, too. You know, 1, he's a leader. 2, talking about that booing last week, that's not a good look for the university's program in any way whatsoever. We had recruits in the building. What does it look like when the man who led this program to the promised land, it had been years since this team not only won a Big Ten championship, but beat Ohio State, first appearance in the college football playoff. Cade McNamara brought the Wolverines to the place that everyone had been dreaming of, the return to the glory that we saw this program in the late 90s. And to see him booed, disgraceful. We'll move past that, though. It's a new game, UConn versus Michigan. And let's talk about this soft opening for the Wolverines. They've had not necessarily a slow start, but they haven't had a hard start, that's for sure. First game against Colorado State, an easy win for the team, and then Hawaii last week, another easy win after faced with that hour-long delay due to lightning in the area. What are your thoughts on Michigan opening with this, frankly, cupcake schedule?
So I think there's a couple reasons as to where I'm kind of down on it. I mean, in the short term, it definitely helps the Wolverines as they get to move up in the rankings. They play a little soft schedule. They get to get everyone some playing time. They get 3 blowout wins. Whatever, 2 blowout wins. We'll see about today. But I think long term, I'm looking week 9, week 10, week 11. They'll maybe be more fresh, but they could hurt them in terms of the resume, the committee talk. It's Michigan football. I get it. They're still a huge brand. You want them in there. But if Michigan somehow slips up and then they get to Ohio State, if there's ever a debate, if Michigan doesn't win the Big Ten, if they want to get into a New Year's Six, there could be a debate at the end of the year, and that strength of schedule could hurt them because, frankly, they haven't really played anyone. I mean, they're playing UConn, Colorado State, and Hawaii. So not the strongest schedule, but I do think this could help them later in the year in terms of keeping their guys fresh because everyone's going to get playing time. There'll be more playing time for all those second and third string guys in the second half, as we saw in the first 2 games. So I think that could help them, but could definitely hurt in the college football playoff discussions.
Absolutely. It's worth noting it is Military Appreciation Day here at Michigan Stadium, and we do have some paratroopers coming into the stadium as we speak. You can hear the crowds, and the crowd is filling in. This is my first time in the press box. You can really get a sense of the energy of Michigan Stadium.
It's the best.
They don't call it the big house for no reason. Now, finally, before we shift in to the next block of our pregame, let's talk about Michigan's defense. They have quite the gap to fill this year with the lack of Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, now this team, they have to fill in Aiden Hutchinson and Dave Ojabo's shoes, and we're looking for, as big Michigan fans, as media members, we're looking for who's going to step up, who's going to fill in, who's going to give you that sack production when it's 3rd down and 8, and you need to get to the quarterback with 4 guys. That's going to be the test, but one guy I'm keeping an eye on, number 32, Jalen Harrow. I love what he did against Hawaii last week. Very fast off the edge. Jim Harbaugh talked about him filling in the shoes. We've also got Mike Morris, Mozzie Smith, the number 1 freak guy, according to Bruce Feldman of The Athletic. So I think there's a bunch of guys there. It's about mixing it and blending it together, which should be very interesting over the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. And like we said, a slower start to the schedule for the Wolverines, but we'll really see that defense ramp up as they start to get into Big Ten play. Now, we do have 4 broadcasters here for today's game, and we'll actually jump off. Matt, we'll see you in just a few minutes when you hop back on. Thanks for your commentary. We'll switch it over to Owen Klein, who's going to join me now from the booth. Owen, first off, good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Owen.
I believe that, like me, this is your first call from the Big House, correct?
This is my first call from the Big House. Super excited. We've got a great atmosphere today. I'm sure Matthew touched on all of that. But on top of that, we got the double Owen action.
We do have the double Owen action. It'll get a little confusing. We are not on the call together during the game, though, so I think we'll be all right. But it's a good name, right? Goes a long way. So let's talk about football across the country, college football across the country. And we'll start off with number 1 ranked Georgia at Spencer Rattler in South Carolina. That game kicking off the same time as we are here, noon. Your thoughts?
Georgia looked dominant week 1 against Oregon, blowing them out. South Carolina, though, they're at home. This is an SEC matchup. They're not a bad team. Definitely going to be a good showing from the student section for the South Carolina Gamecocks, although I don't think they have a chance in this game. There is upside potential, but I'm still rolling with the dogs here of Georgia. Keep your eye on that one, though. It should be a good one.
And now let's shift into Oklahoma. They are going to Nebraska today. That game also set for noon. But Nebraska's first game in, 5 years without Scott Frost at the helm of the program?
No Scott Frost. Big changes for the Cornhuskers. They just fired him. Big game here. Chance to kind of renew your identity. Kind of a good restart. And what better opportunity at home against a very good Oklahoma Sooners team. They're number 6 in the country. That should also be a good one.
And you have to feel in a way for Nebraska,
oh, yeah.
Another Big Ten program. They had high hopes with Scott Frost. And I think that you could compare Scott Frost's tenure to what some people thought happened with Jim Harbaugh. You saw at the end of the 2020 season people saying, we thought Jim Harbaugh was our savior. He came in, he didn't get it done. Harbaugh turned things around. Frost just ultimately unable to for Nebraska.
Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate for Frost, obviously, last year. Not the best record, but was very competitive in a lot of losses. Lost a lot of games by single digits, including one against Michigan, a team that eventually won the Big Ten and went to the college football playoff. So just not the best situation there for Scott Frost. I still think there's a place for him in college football as a coach, possibly a coordinator. But you mentioned Jim Harbaugh, right? 2020, the seat for him was as hot as ever. ended up saving his job and ultimately leading Michigan not only to a win over Ohio State, but a Big Ten title and a place in the college football playoffs as well.
Absolutely, and we're a little long-winded here, so we got to keep moving. Let's go into BYU at number 25, Oregon. That game kickoff 3:30. Your thoughts?
I think this will be the best game of the day. Oregon, obviously, we mentioned they got blown out by Georgia. They got a win in week 2, trying to kind of revive their season. BYU, though, they're going kind of under the radar for a team that's number 12. They beat Baylor last week at home. And Baylor was a team that many, including Michigan's own Desmond Howard, picked to be in the college football playoffs. So don't sleep on the Cougars of BYU. I think this should be a great game as far as the winner. I don't know yet. We'll keep you updated.
Now, Desmond Howard's college football picks might not have been the strongest. I've seen them get it.
That's right.
They're a little meme-worthy, frankly. But, no hate on Desmond Howard. We love him here in the booth. Let's move on to Penn State, ranked 22 right now in the AP poll at Auburn. That game scheduled for 3:30 as well.
This one could go either way. Penn State at 22, Auburn unranked. This is in Auburn. Both teams in very, very competitive conferences. This is a huge game for both to possibly establish themselves. For Penn State's case, higher in the AP rankings. For Auburn to enter the AP rankings, I think it should be a good one.
And we've got Michigan State at Washington tonight, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Your thoughts? The Wolverines had a strong win to start their season with Washington last year.
That's right. It can't help you remind of Michigan's game against Washington at night early in the year. Similar situation for the Spartans, who are kind of trying to prove themselves, especially in the Big Ten without a Kenneth Walker. They had a slow start, I'd say. Week 1 against Western Michigan, kind of picked it up in week 2. This is a prove-it game for both of these teams. Another one that's kind of like an Auburn Penn State, like a BYU Oregon. This is a good week of college football, and I'm super excited.
Absolutely. Now, our final game, or our final 2 games to look at, Miami at number 24, Texas A&M. A&M, they lost to App State after giving them $1.5 million to head on down. What are your thoughts?
And Michigan knows about that, right? Losing to Appalachian State. I hate to bring it back up. But Texas A&M lost to App State College game. They went to Boone, North Carolina to visit App State. And Texas A&M, kind of a similar situation to Oregon, trying to revive their season. A great opportunity to do it here at home against a ranked opponent in Miami.
Absolutely. And like you said, App State, definitely one of the colleges on my list. I'd love to watch a game there sometime.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Finally, upset alert. 2-0 Texas Tech heading down to NC State, or heading up to NC State in this case. Finally, your thoughts on this game?
Another upset alert, another couple of 2-0 teams. One of them is vying for a ranking spot in the AP poll. One's trying to retain their spot. Still give me NC State. Give me the Wolfpack.
All right. Levy. No, Klein. Oh, my God.
No worries
at
all.
It's the 2 Owens.
No problem. No problem.
I'll hop off. I'll be back in the second half of the game. Going to hand it back over to Matt for some previews of the matchup.
All right, guys, we are back and better than ever. I'm sliding back in like Chris Collinsworth right now. But here we go. So Block C, we'll end it off. We'll take you right up until kickoff, where Zach Linfield and Owen Klein have the call for the first half. Me and Owen Crain will have the call in the second half. But I wanted to get into this injury report in depth. Here we go. So Donovan Edwards, he is out. He is out today for the Michigan Wolverines. What are you looking for without Donovan Edwards today?
I'm looking for CJ Stokes.
There we go.
If this is the blowout that people think it will be, we're going to see a lot of CJ Stokes, especially in the second half. Blake Corum, obviously the guy here in Ann Arbor when it comes to running the football. Great player, but if Michigan extends that lead past 21 early, I think Stokes will see him possibly get over 10 carries.
But I even if it's a close game, I still think this guy gets some carries.
Oh, yeah.
Stokes, they like 2 running back sets. Michigan is always like that, and you want to keep Blake Corum fresh. And I like what C.J. Stokes did last week, right? He ran the football hard, physical, between the tackles, balanced. So I'm looking for C.J. Stokes to have a nice little day today if you wanted to make a bet on someone to have a little bit of a better day than expected. Other guys that I wanted to mention, Carson Barnhart on the offensive line. He is out as well. Michigan, very good depth on the offensive line, but how does this affect things for the Wolverines?
Great depth on the O-line for Michigan, as you mentioned. Week 1, Barnhart came in for an injured Ryan Hayes. And obviously now they're kind of swapping. Barnhart's the one that's injured with Hayes drawing to start. Michigan still retains all of their normal starters on the offensive line, but this is a hit from depth in a game, like I said, that you might see some reserves coming in. So the last thing you want if you're a Wolverine fan is for one of your starting offensive linemen to go down. So this is definitely something to keep your eye on with Tucker Barnhart not being in.
Yeah, no. And then let's switch over to the defensive side of the football. Mikhail Green, he'll be out again. He was out for the first 2 weeks as well. And you got Taylor Upshaw. He's active, might be limited today for the Wolverines. A couple guys in your front seven, but this front seven, again, a lot to prove to those Wolverine fans.
For sure, and it was kind of a surprise that Mikhail Green didn't appear in Game 1 or Game 2. One of the more anticipated players on this Wolverine defense, obviously a defense that lost some pieces, needed to reload. He was looked at as not only a leader, but one of the more talented players on the defensive side of the ball. But Junior Colson, Mike Baird, and Khalil Mullings all have been very good. All have been with the program for a couple of years now. So for Mikhail Green, it's just a matter of coming back when healthy. Again, soft start to the schedule you guys mentioned in the pregame. Last thing we want is for him to not be 100% when he comes back. Let him rest up, let him come back healthy.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I think this defense, I think what people are kind of underestimating is we went into last season, and there were a lot of questions about this pass defense, and they answered those. But I think this pass defense has a chance to be very good this year. This secondary, they're coming in with a lot of experience. Back is DJ Turner. You have Will Johnson, that 5-star recruit as a freshman, who's played a little bit. This is a very good secondary, and I'm very curious to see over the next couple weeks to see how they get acclimated to things. And finally, I'll bring it back to you, Owen, before we get going here. So we are just about set. It's the national anthem, Michigan and UConn. I'll send it over to Zach.
And now we'd like to welcome you into the WCBN sports broadcast of Michigan football. Zach Linfield here with Owen Klein. Owen, you can hear the bells ringing. We're at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. What a football game we're going to have here this afternoon between the undefeated Michigan Wolverines and the 1-2 Connecticut Huskies. First off, Owen, welcome to the broadcast booth. It's your first time for a football game. I know you're excited. We talked about it all week. Let's talk about your feelings real quick as a new member to WCBN in the football booth.
Man, there is nothing like the big house, like you mentioned, on a Saturday afternoon. Early in the year, you've got a great Michigan football team on your hands, number 4 in the AP poll. I'm super excited. Who better than you to have on my side?
Good friends we are. Michigan and Connecticut. We know Connecticut, Owen, is supposed to be an inferior opponent to Michigan. This is not a great football team. The chirpings all week across national media is that Michigan did not have a good non-conference schedule, but it's also a time that Michigan can prove that if they do schedule teams like this in the non-conference, that they are supposed to do what they've been doing, and that's rolling against these type of opponents.
Oh, 100%. And you could look at it two ways. The way that you mentioned, having a weaker non-conference opponent, does that prepare you? Or the other way, can you identify your weaknesses by not having to go out and win the game? And I think that's something that Michigan's done very well. A prominent example of that this year is the quarterback battle. They have been able to experiment with both McCarthy and McNamara, and early in the year they came to the conclusion that McCarthy is the guy for this job.
First 2 weeks, Michigan was able to roll, especially in the first half. Had big leads, 23-0 against Colorado State, 42-0 against Hawaii at halftime in the first 2 ball games. But now, Michigan in week number 3, they have a big opponent next week in Maryland. A lot of people are overlooking the Terrapins. That's a darn good football team they have in College Park with a good quarterback. But Michigan may play their starters perhaps a little bit longer today into this ball game to get them ready for that game against their first Big Ten opponent next weekend.
Oh yeah, you can think of this as the last preseason game in the NFL for Michigan. You want to get your starters fully acclimated. The first 2 games, obviously, by halftime they were kind of out. But against a team like Maryland, like you said, this is a Big Ten opponent that's undefeated in the Big Ten East. They're a good team. You want your starters to be primed and ready to go, and most importantly, healthy. We talked about Donovan Edwards missing today's game, probably playing it on the safer side is the coaching staff.
Michigan and Connecticut We're just a couple of minutes away from kickoff as James Earl-Jones knocking down to the Maize and Blue faithful that have filled up the giant bowl at Michigan Stadium. 2 straight home games left for Michigan before finally hitting the road as they'll travel to Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. 2 opponents to face. Before we get to that, though, Owen, I know you've got a couple keys on your laptop in front of you. Michigan's keys to the game for today.
Michigan keys today, number 1 is stay healthy. Like you said, this is an inferior UConn team. Last thing you want to do is have prominent starters get injured. Also, just get more comfortable with JJ at the helm. This is, I guess, his first official game as he's starting quarterback. Obviously, he started last week's game, but he had to, win that position. So get more acclimated with JJ. Stay healthy for Michigan.
Let's get into the starting lineup for today's football game as Michigan takes the field in their traditional maize and blue uniforms. The blue tops, maize bottoms, and those famed winged helmets on top of their heads. Starting lineup for Michigan's offense from left to right: Ryan Hayes, Trevor Keegan, Olu Oluwatsimi, Zach Zinter, and Trente Jones. The normal 5 that you'd see starting across the offensive line. Let's talk about the wide receivers. Ronnie Bell, Roman Wilson, and Cornelius Johnson are the starters. But how about a big day from Andrell Anthony today? We haven't seen much of him quite yet. At the tight end position, Eric All and Luke Schoonmaker will get the call. Blake Corum will start at running back. We'll see a lot of CJ Stokes this afternoon with Donovan Edwards sitting on the shelf for perhaps this week and also next week as well. Number 9, J.J. McCarthy will get his second collegiate start. I know we're very excited to see him today. Quickly, the stars on defense for Connecticut. Right up in the middle is Delmont Bordine, one of the big guys right in the middle. Jackson Mitchell, the will linebacker for Connecticut. Right in the middle of that defense in their 3-4 style defense is their best player on the defensive side. Let's talk about Michigan's defense too. They have very high expectations coming into this game against a very subpar UConn offense. And well, it starts at the quarterback position for UConn. Owen, they lost Taquan Roberson in week 1 to a torn ACL, the transfer from Penn State. Zion Turner is the quarterback for Connecticut in his second pass that he threw in that game against Utah State week 0, technically. He threw an interception. This is a freshman, and Michigan on the defensive front, you'd expect pressure all game from this team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Zion Turner, obviously a freshman. This is a tough environment, isn't it, for his 3rd collegiate game in the Big House against a Michigan team that's extremely good, draws a lot of fans. Not much of a runner is Zion Turner. He's been okay. He's 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the year. So he's played a little more conservatively, but he's going to need to air it out against the Michigan defense. That's been great stopping the run so far.
Well, their top connection is from Zion Turner to Aaron Turner, only 5'7", 178. But the native of Ellicott City, Maryland, is their best receiver. Dejon Harrison and Ethan Williams will see quite a bit of action as well through the air. Brandon Nemensky is the starting tight end. From left to right across the offensive front for Connecticut is Valentine Sen, Noel Ofori Niadu, and then in the middle, snapping the ball back to Zion Turner this afternoon is Jake Guidone. Christian Haynes and Chase Lunt are up front for the Huskies. At running back, Nathan Carter is one of the best backs in the country. However, he's running behind a starting 5 offensive linemen that aren't that great, Owen.
Yeah, I mean, very great player, Nathan Carter. He's the best player on this UConn offense, I think. He leads them in rushing yards. But this offensive line, I mean, they're kind of experienced. They averaged 5.1 yards in a 10th rushing, only allowed 4 sacks through 3 games. Obviously, this is a different animal with Michigan's front 7. But gives props. This is one of the better units on this UConn team, their offensive line, and Nate Carter. So expect his name to be called a lot today.
Michigan and Connecticut were just about set to play football from the Big House in Ann Arbor. Zach Linfield here, joined by Owen Klein. Very excited to get started as this maize and blue themed crowd across Michigan Stadium is very revved up and ready to go from downtown Ann Arbor. How you feeling, Owen? A little butterflies, a little bit?
Little butterflies, yeah, first game in the Big House. Very familiar with the setting, but kind of a different view for me.
Right. Owen and I are perched at about the 35-yard line on the north side of Michigan Stadium. From all the way up at the bird's eye view, we'll be joined later by Matthew Levy and Owen Crain, who will have the second half of WCBN's coverage. But for now, you got to stick with Owen Klein and I. We've got a busy weekend of football, though.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We're heading to Detroit tomorrow.
Heading to the D. That's right. I will say real quick about this Michigan offense. Looks like they're going to get the ball first. I want to see JJ's first drive. Does he pop with a big play like they did last week? Or do they kind of take their time and move down the field? UConn not the best team in coverage, gives up a lot of yards per game. So let's see if Michigan can expose that weakness and kind of strike first on the first drive here.
Michigan and Connecticut both lined up. Here comes Seven Nation Army from the Big House in Ann Arbor. Well over 100,000 in attendance this afternoon for Michigan and Connecticut. The Wolverines at 2-0. The Huskies at 1-2. Their lone win coming over Central Connecticut State back in official week 1. Last week they were blown out by the Syracuse Orange. In Storrs, Connecticut, their second home game of the season. And this week marks the second road game for the Huskies on the year.
What a moment this is for many of those Husky players. They're going to remember this for the rest of their life.
Two prior matchups between the two. Michigan won the first 30-10 back in 2010. The two teams then played in 2013. Michigan won that game 24-21. It was an absolute scare for Michigan back in 13 under Brady Hoke. And that ended up being the last season for the Wolverines head coach. Noe Rulis is set to kick it away for UConn, and they're all icy whites this afternoon. Michigan in the maize and blue uniforms with his heels at the end line, waiting for Michigan is Roman Wilson. Here comes Rulis' kick. It's up and away, and we are set to play football from Ann Arbor. Wilson will return it from the 2-yard line. He'll start at the 15, go to the 20. He's got a hold of the 25, and he's spun down at the 27-yard line. Brought down by Connecticut's Alfred Shea. 1st and 10 Wolverines. Well, they'll get a little bit better field position than they would have if Roman would have just called for a fair catch. But we're not really used to seeing Roman Wilson not score a touchdown when he has the ball in his hands this season.
I was just about to say, I mean, the fact that he's returning these kicks shows off his versatility. He has a rushing and multiple receiving touchdowns on the year. One of Michigan's most versatile players, for sure.
The 28-yard line is the official mark for the Wolverines as they split the hash on 1st down and 10. 3 receivers left, 1 to the right. J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback. Blake Corum is the back to his left. In motion comes A.J. Henning. Number 9 in his first official start after winning the quarterback battle, drops to throw. Fires right side, got A.J. Henning. He's at the 33-yard line. And coverage for UConn is Brandon Boyer-Randall. But A.J. had to fall to the ground as he brought the ball in at the 34. It's going to be about 2nd down and 4 yards to play.
Perfectly executed play there. J.J. McCarthy, quick first read, got his man A.J. Henning coming out in motion. That's what you want to start.
Michigan goes quick to the line. McCarthy in the shotgun. Blake Corum to his left. In motion goes Wilson right to left. He joins 2 other receivers wide left. Cornelius Johnson, the lone receiver, to the right. McCarthy throws a screen out left side. Here's Roman Wilson. Gets a block from Eric Gall down the left sideline. He's got space 50 to the 45-40. Roman Wilson, 35-30. Is spun down inside UConn territory at the 29-yard line. Brought down by Durante Jones. It's a big pickup for the Wolverines. 1st down, maize and blue.
Kind of deja vu there, no? I mean, last week, Roman Wilson had the screen that he ended up taking to the house on the opposite side of the field. They get him involved early here with the screen. The short passing, yards after catch, huge for Michigan so far in the first 2 plays.
That was a nice block by the big tight end, Eric Gall. He hasn't done much through the receiving end this season, but that block was very nice on the left side as he blocked away the cornerback. 1st down, Michigan, here they go. From the 28-yard line, McCarthy in the shotgun. 2 receivers wide right, 1 tight end also tight to the right, that's Schoonmaker. The lone receiver wide out left, Andrell Anthony. Corum the back. He'll get the call right up the middle. Corum finds a crease to the 20-yard line. He's brought down right there. Jackson Mitchell, there's that Will linebacker we talked about. Very talented in the middle of that UConn defense. He makes the stop. But it's a pickup of 8 yards, an efficient 8 for the Wolverines at 2nd down and 2.
And he's going to have to be huge on the defensive side of the ball with the Michigan offensive line that likely is to be dominant at the line of scrimmage. Obviously, Blake Corum getting past the D-line there. Good tackle by him.
That pickup from McCarthy to Roman Wilson was good for 38 yards, and it looked like it could have been stopped for just a gain of 1. McCarthy now brings Ronnie Bell in tight to the formation. 2 tight ends in the set. Delayed handoff left side. Blake Corum gets around the edge to the 15, to the 10, 5, end zone, touchdown, Michigan. It's an early lead for the Wolverines.
Great blocking there with the O-line. Corum able to get the edge. Just daylight for Blake.
20 yards, Blake Corum on the ground. Michigan a 6-0 edge early against the Connecticut Huskies with 12:52 to play in the first quarter.
And stopping the run is something that UConn's kind of pride themselves on throughout the first 3 games of the year. Michigan, though, dominant on the ground in that first drive. Corum, 2 attempts for 28 yards and a touchdown.
I mean, that looked easy.
Oh, yeah. It was untouched.
It was sort of a shaky block, too, from Luke Schoonmaker on the left side. We'll get into it more during the media timeout after Jake Moody tries to put it through the uprights. And Mr. Jake Money Moody's now 101 for 101, kicking extra points as a Michigan Wolverine. How about that for a start? Michigan takes a 7-0 lead over Connecticut with 12:52 to play in the first quarter. It's a Blake Corum 20-yard scamper to the end zone. Let's go back into that play as we do head into a media timeout. It was a simple delayed handoff around left end. It looked like maybe it was designed to go into the middle, but Luke Schoonmaker, I think he whiffed on his block and came back. Oh, look at that. There's a dog on the field. I was wondering what the cheer was for. But it looked like Schoonmaker kind of whiffed on his block, and then Blake bounced to the outside, and Schoonmaker pushed him back down, and all of a sudden, I'm so distracted by this dog right now.
It's entertaining, to say the least. But back to the play, I mean, I think you're right. I think that was a designed run to go inside, but Blake Corum, one of the better backs in the country, kind of read that Schoonmaker block, took it outside, and it ended up working out. I mean, this dog got to be on the team, man.
Are the cheers louder for the dog than the touchdown?
They might be. They might be. I think UConn could use him catching the ball possibly.
Does he go 4 for 4? He's getting tired out there, too.
Wow. It's impressive.
Yeah, we could bring you some play-by-play of this if you really wanted to. One more time. He wants to go again. From the goal line, fires it out 20. The dog's to the 30. Leaps up and makes the catch. How about that? First down for the black Labrador Retriever.
It's a heck of a catch. Stuff. Pretty good place for Frisbee.
This is what happens when we don't have commercials on student radio.
Oh, that's right.
He's 6 for 6. Look at that.
And we'll gladly talk about this.
He climbs the ladder again.
Oh, yeah.
This is spectacular stuff that we're seeing right now.
Certainly a great receiver. He's clearly been trained this art before. Don't sleep on the owner's throws either.
No, these are.
Not the best throw there.
That's on you.
That's on me. I jinxed that one for sure. 100%. Looks like they're booing the owner here. The big house.
Michigan's scoring drive is 4 plays, 72 yards. It takes just 2 minutes and 1 second off the clock. But it was a nice drive. J.J. McCarthy, that connection with Roman Wilson. It's a simple screen pass. And I'll tell you what, Owen, the screens from McCarthy to Roman Wilson have been nothing but efficient so far through these first 3 weeks of play.
Oh, yeah. The connection that McCarthy and his receivers, especially like you mentioned, Wilson, are established so far has to be
just in general.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just has to be a plus for Michigan fans. Michigan not really airing it out, kind of going short, like you said, and letting the receivers do the rest. I mean, I think they'll take it. But I'm really curious to see how this defense responds. Obviously, lost a couple pieces over the offseason, notably Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, a couple pieces in the secondary. A great leader and linebacker in Josh Ross. They've been great through the first 2 games, albeit against lower-tier opponents, I would say. But it's going to be interesting to see how they play against this UConn offense with one of the premier backs in the country.
We'll meet the skill players again for UConn in just a moment as the media timeout is about set to wrap up. The student section has finally filled up, and how about that? It's only 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the ballgame. That's pretty impressive.
It is impressive. It is impressive. Some empty spots near the top.
These crowds have been really nice the first 3 weeks, especially for opponents that aren't necessarily on the same level as Michigan so far.
Oh, I would agree 100%.
7-0 Michigan lead, 12:52 to play in the first quarter. Jake Moody will walk up to the football, toe it away, and UConn will be set to return it. Victor Rosa is under it, calls for a fair catch back at the 1-yard line. And Connecticut will play offense for the first time this afternoon. Back through their skill players. Zion Turner is the starting quarterback for UConn after Taquan Roberson tears his ACL in week 1 against Utah State. Nathan Carter is the running back for the Connecticut Huskies. Nigel Fitzgerald, Ethan Williams, Aaron Turner, and Dejon Harrison are the names to look out for on the receiving end. Well, here comes Turner and Connecticut's offense. Also got to watch out for the name Kevins Clercius, the Canadian and a transfer from Arkansas. He's out wide to the left right now, isolated with Jamon Green. Carter shifts from right to left in the backfield. Turner gets the snap. He's going to drop to throw. Fires left side for Clercius. Nice defense by Jamon Green. He knocked it away, incomplete. 2nd down and 10 coming up.
I mean, you mentioned the matchup. Jamon Green one-on-one. Just stuck with him the entire time, broke up that pass.
You know what? They looked against Jamon Green quite a few times last week, did Hawaii. They wanted Jalen Walthall, the speedy receiver from Honolulu, a number of times. But Jamon Green was locked down in coverage. He's got isolation again, but UConn currently in the full house. Nathan Carter is the deep back, 2 tight ends in the backfield. Turner turns right, hands off Carter. He meets the Wolverine interior defensive line after a pickup of 2 yards. At the 27-yard line, Connecticut will operate. Mozzie Smith on the stop, 3rd down and 8.
I was just about to say, Mozzie Smith showing up the speed at that nose tackle spot. Kind of an outside kind of run for Nate Carter there. Smith got there unblocked. Great tackle against a great running back.
And the fact that you can bring up speed with a 6'3", 337-pound defensive lineman, that's a lot saying about Mozzie Smith. Grand Rapids. 3rd down, 8 yards to go. Connecticut working from the right hash. Zion Turner in the shotgun. 4 receivers wide left, 1 to the right. That's the big tight end, Naminsky. 1 man goes in motion. Turner fires out left side. It's going to try and be a double pass, but Junior Colson flies into the backfield like a rocket and brings down Aaron Turner.
Excellent pursuit to the ball there. They read that the entire way, the Michigan defense did. They picked apart that screen in a dominant defensive series.
I think they were going to go for a double pass
They
there.
might have.
Aaron Turner looked like he was going to throw. Let's see it on the scoreboard right now. He was going to try and throw for that. Junior Colson and Jamon Green combined on the stop. A loss of 5 yards, 4th down and 13. George Caratan is the punter for Connecticut. He's a transfer from Michigan. A.J. Henning is sent all the way back to the 25-yard line. Does a 360, turns to the right side. He cuts upfield at the 20, gets back to the 25, and he's finally brought down. On the stop for Connecticut, the long snapper, Tommy Zozus. 1st down, Michigan. Looks like we'll avoid a media timeout, and we'll get to see the Wolverine offense for the 2nd time in just 1 minute and 36 seconds.
That's right. That's right. Now, I would expect to see some C.J. Stokes possibly, maybe not this possession, but in the forthcoming possessions, especially if Michigan is able to get another score here. Interested to see how they approach this offensive series.
They'll start with 2 stacks, 2 receivers wide to each side. McCarthy, the quarterback, with Blake Corum, the running back. McCarthy, the snap. Ronnie Bell's got it, 25-30, tiptoeing the sideline, and he's brought down. Tackled low by Durante Jones down that right sideline. Looks like a pickup of about 7 yards on the play. 2nd down and 3 upcoming for the Maize and Blue.
Michigan's loving those screens early. There's one to Ronnie Bell right there, getting him involved. Obviously, the earlier one to Roman Wilson. They're getting good yards after catch after their screens, so Michigan will take that.
Some great blocking on the edges, too, with those screen passes.
That's right.
Tight end, Luke Schoonmaker brought into the game. He joins 2 receivers to the right. Isolation coverage on the far left side for Cornelius Johnson. McCarthy drops. Picks up a nice block from Korn. Fires out left side, almost intercepted. His receiver, Cornelius Johnson, fell down at the 45-yard line. Coverage was from Malcolm Bell, the cornerback on the far right sideline.
Yeah, it looked like Cornelius was running an out route there, just lost his footing. Looked like it would have been a success had he stayed on his feet. Good throw by J.J. 2nd incompletion of the year for J.J. McCarthy.
Just a crazy statistic. The
That's
numbers
right.
this kid is putting up.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. But it's now 3rd down and manageable for Michigan. 2 receivers left, 1 to the right. Big tight end Luke Schoonmaker lined up on the left side. Corum is in the pistol. McCarthy hands off. Nope, he's got it to the left side. He's brought down. A nice play by the outside linebacker, Brandon Boyer-Randall. That's one of the things that J.J. McCarthy's so good at is the deception on the fake. He still had it. I think Michigan would have gotten the 1st down if they would have handed off to Blake Corum. But nonetheless, Michigan will be forced to punt. That's a 3 and out and a loss of 6 yards.
That's right. And J.J. possibly showing the lack of experience there. I'm sure that was a design run for Corum. J.J. tried to keep it himself, ended up getting stopped in the backfield there. J.J. can certainly make those plays. Kind of shows off his youth right there.
Brad Robbins in punt formation. Michigan has 3 gunners wide to the right. A bit of an odd setup for a special teams formation. Lots of pressure coming from Connecticut, but Robbins gets it off. What a beautiful punt. Inside the 15, takes a high bounce backwards. Iman Dennis is down there to grab it at the 17-yard line. That's a beautiful kick from Brad Robbins, and UConn will have it for their 2nd offensive possession. It looks like after a media timeout.
I mean, how demoralizing was that be for the Huskies, right? You get a good defensive stop, but then Brad Robbins rockets a punt to the opposite end of the field. And in UConn's first offensive series, they struggled mightily against a Michigan defense that was ready. Michigan fans seem to take this special teams unit for granted, especially over the past 2 seasons. Arguably the best in the country. You mentioned Jake Moody hasn't missed an extra point yet. Brad Robbins showing off the leg right there.
Well, we're only a couple minutes through this ball game. Owen, your initial thoughts on Michigan's start to this ball game? I mean, my initial thoughts are explosive on the first drive, then J.J. McCarthy's youth showing out a little bit on the second, as you mentioned.
I think Michigan, they've been good offensively. They've been pretty conservative, actually, I think, especially, with the screen passes that have been happening. The defense I've been super impressed with. Just the one play from JJ. Maybe should have handed it off there. Nothing too large to think in about. I think Michigan's played well, and I think this defensive series will be huge for them.
Well, Connecticut is one of the few teams in collegiate football that have played 3 games so far this season. They played in week 0 against Utah State. They lost that game 31-20 in the state of Utah. They've since played 2 more. One against in-state, Central Connecticut State University. Won that game 28-3 against the FCS opponent of the Blue Devils. And Syracuse last week in stores, a 48-14 loss. But Connecticut has been led by really one player, and that's Nathan Carter on offense.
He's kind of put them on their back, hasn't he? One of the premier running backs in the country. Easily this team's best offensive player, and so far, not much going for him yard-wise against a stout Michigan front 7. We'll see if he can improve that on their second series of the day.
And our initial thoughts really on that short Connecticut series they had. They've only run 3 plays. 2 passes from Zion Turner. He completed 1 to Aaron Turner. But then the 1 carry from Nathan Carter went for 2 yards. But the style of play that Jim Mora, the new head coach for Connecticut after spending 5 years at UCLA, they're trying to move quick. They're trying quick routes, not necessarily anything deep. The 1 pass that was beyond 5 yards on the drive was to Kevin Sclercius, defended by Jamon Green, but it was a back shoulder route. They're trying to get the ball out quick because they know that Michigan defensive front can smell blood in the water.
That's right. And I think that's a good game plan to have, kind of moving quickly, especially with Michigan missing Nakai Hill-Green, who's supposed to be their guy at linebacker this year. A quick player can get out in the space, great lateral quickness. So I like the strategy, but let's see if the Connecticut Huskies can really put it on paper here.
Michigan leads at 7-0, 9:43 to play in the first quarter. Zach Linfield here with Owen Klein. It's safe to say a lot of people have gotten used to the electricity very early with J.J. McCarthy on offense, and I think maybe they can see he's immortal. He is a mortal quarterback right now after possibly the mistake of keeping that ball, and he was just 1 guy away from bouncing that off to the edge and potentially being out for the races.
I love the way you put that. He is certainly mortal. Definitely the man on campus here at Michigan.
Well, Connecticut, they're going to switch quarterbacks. Cale Millen is now in the game, the redshirt sophomore from Northern Arizona. Limited action this season, as now the 3rd-string quarterback bumped up to 2nd string, as Taquan Roberson is done for the season with a torn ACL. He's in the backfield all alone. 3 receivers right, 2 to the left. He's going to keep it right up the middle, gets a couple of blocks. He sneaks his way to the 20 before the Michigan defense finally pushes him back. Pickup of 3 yards on the play for Millen. Almost every single Wolverine was on the stop. 2nd down and 7.
Yeah, and Zion Turner, who started this game, the freshman, not much of a runner. Obviously, Millen there takes the draw. Seemed pretty designed to me. So I wonder if that was a short-term thing with Millen or if he's going to stay on the field.
Zion Turner's right back into the ball.
Right back on the field.
Victor Rosa, the freshman from Bristol, Connecticut, now into the backfield. He's listed as the 4th-string running back on Connecticut's depth chart. In motion, right to left goes Bo Estes. Turner fakes the handoff left, flushed out to the right, throws to the sideline, got Aaron Turner, bounced out of bounds by Mike Sainristil. It's good enough for a UConn 1st down up to the 29-yard line. And the Huskies have their first moving the chains motion this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Easily UConn's best play on either side of the ball today, maybe except for the JJ stuff in the backfield. Looked like a designed run. Zion got out, made a good play.
That's one thing he is very good at in the tape that we've watched. Zion Turner is very capable while throwing on the run. A weak pistol set. Fullback to the left hip of Turner. Deep into the backfield is Victor Rosa. One man comes in motion left to right. That's Flynn. Turner drops the ball in the backfield. Mike Sainristil in pursuit and brings him down from behind. dropped back at the 25-yard line. That's a loss of 4. Second down and 14 upcoming, but Turner, he simply just dropped the football.
Oh, he did, yep. And Mike Sanders still showing off the tackling ability. Obviously, positional transfer from receiver to cornerback last year. He's been great so far for Michigan.
And we look at the strategy of Michigan's defense under Jesse Minter. That was a designed blitz regardless for Mike Sanders still off the edge from his nickelback position.
That's right.
Back into the full house for UConn. 2 fullbacks to the left and right hips of Turner. Now sends one man in motion to the left. That's Estes. The deep back remains Rosa. Turner turns left, hands off Rosa. Right there, Braden McGregor tears him to the ground. It's a pickup of 2. That'll bring up third down, 12 yards to go for UConn.
And that's a name we're going to hear a lot, not only this game, but this season, is Braden McGregor. Many people think he's the heir to the great Aiden Hutchinson. He's been excellent, just like Mike Sanders still has defensively throughout this season.
This crowd's going to rev it up one more time. Third down, 12 yards to go. 7:30 to play in the first quarter. Michigan leads by 7. Empty backfield for Zion Turner. Calling out the signals to his center, Jake Godone. 3 receivers right, 2 to the left. Jacob Flynn in motion now returns to his spot on the right side. Turner gets the snap. Pressure coming from the backside. He steps up, flushed out left side. Turner. He'll throw across the middle. Almost intercepted by Makari Page. It was intended for the tight end, Bo Estes. Fourth down, 12 yards to go. Connecticut forced a punt.
And Zion Turner did a miraculous job that play of getting out of the pocket, avoiding the pressure, kind of showing off the mobility, something he's not known for. Bo Estes, like you said, the tight end, he just dropped it.
Estes set right into a small window between a couple of Michigan defensive backs. It was bounced off the hand of Estes. Makari Page has now had a chance at a couple of interceptions this season and still has yet to come down with one. George Caratan in punt formation for Connecticut. Michigan brings only 1. Caratan's kick is high into the air. A.J. Henning takes a wallop at the 30, and that's going to draw a flag. It looked like it was number 20, Damon Brinson, that was right into the area of A.J. Henning. And that's probably going to be kick-catch interference. Michigan should move up 15 yards.
Yeah, kind of an odd play there. Not sure that Henning called the fair catch.
You still got to give him the space.
That's right. That's right. Officials talking about it at midfield. Certainly what I think it would be. And the last thing you want if you're an opposing team coming in is special teams penalties, especially against a special teams unit as good as Michigan's.
Kick catch interference. Kicking team, number 20. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down. Timeout.
There you hear it right there, 15 yards for Michigan and another media timeout. That's something you're going to have to get used to, is these media timeouts.
Yep.
Now, people like us on the radio, we're the good guys. So
That's
for
right.
those of you guys listening out there, just remember that radio, we're the good guys. TV are the bad guys.
That's right, not because of us. And obviously my first game in the booth here. Strongly disliked media timeouts as a fan, assuming they're not much better on radio, although you do get to talk football, which is always fun.
Michigan's got a 7-0 edge with 6:54 to play in the first quarter. And Michigan, perhaps a bit of a slow start. I mean, the defense has looked really nice. But the offense, besides the 4-play drive, we've seen a lot of downfield action from Michigan. We've seen nothing downfield so far on 2 drives. It's been quick screens and runs to Blake Corum and the one tuck by J.J. McCarthy. Owen, do you think potentially we see a shot? Excuse me. I don't know what just happened. But do you think we see a shot on this drive here?
You know, I think we do. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if this drive is longer than the last one. Michigan really hasn't thrown it that deep. The longest attempted pass was a Cornelius Johnson out route for about 10 yards. So I think JJ will have to air it out later in the year, certainly against better defenses. So I think we're going to see him do a variety of different things with the football today. Like you said, a little bit of a slow start for Michigan. Only 2 total yards on 3 plays in that last offensive series after a dominant opening one. So we'll see how this one goes.
His stat line through 2 drives so far, 3 for 4, 51 yards. Rushing the football, 1 attempt for -5. And I wouldn't assume that we'll see another -5-yard carry for J.J. McCarthy today.
Probably not. I'm sure Harbaugh gave him an earful about what looked like to be a designed run up the middle, 3rd and short. So we'll see. Obviously, J.J., an excellent runner. Super mobile quarterback, very athletic.
one thing we've seen a lot about J.J. McCarthy is he's usually not brought down on first contact. So that's
right.
one thing for J.J. that maybe was a bit of an oddball situation when he was brought down. And that was a nice defensive play, too, that was made by UConn's outside linebacker, Brandon Boyer-Randall. But we usually see him evade the first tackler.
Oh, yeah, we do. We certainly do. Especially saw it last year when he came in for those running situations. And this year over the offseason, I've heard that he's built muscle, which would even help him more in that regard. So something we certainly see a lot. A good tackle there by Boyer-Randall, certainly, who, by the way, is from Michigan. So a little bit of revenge there. That's right.
He's the only Husky in the rotation that will play on offense or defense that's from the Mitten State. Native of Battle Creek, Michigan, plays the outside linebacker position for UConn. Connecticut does take the field again to play defense against the Wolverines, who will finally take the field. And they'll start from the 46-yard line. Good field position for the Maize and Blue. They own a touchdown lead so far against UConn. 6:54 to play in the first quarter. Beautiful day from Ann Arbor.
Oh, yeah. Curious to see if Michigan takes a shot here on the first play with the good field position you mentioned. Got a lot of playmakers there right now.
Before the media timeout concludes, you look on the far side of the field. It's isolation with Cornelius Johnson and Caleb Anthony. That's a big size difference, too. CJ's got quite the height advantage on Anthony on the far side. Now a bit of a cushion in coverage. McCarthy from the shotgun. Blake Corum is his running back off his right hip. JJ gets the ball, throws out left side. Got it to Roman Wilson. Inside UConn territory, 45. Spun down at the 40-yard line. There is a flag down. I think they're going to get Cornelius Johnson for a hold, Owen.
Yeah, I think they might as well. Another screen to Roman Wilson.
Well, hold on now. The referees just pointed in the direction of UConn, so we're going to see exactly what we got here. There's also an injury down on the field. The injured Husky is Ian Swenson.
Holding. Offense. Number 6. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Right there, Cornelius Johnson on the edge. And the player that made the tackle was Swenson. He's still down back at the 30-yard line. He sort of gingerly limped down the field and eventually landed right on the numbers on the far sideline. Michigan will have it first down and 11 from the left hash when we resume play.
So Michigan opting to go short again with the pass. I mean, it's worked out for them so far today. Doesn't look like Roman Wilson's on the field here.
After the penalty, first down, 11 yards to go from the left hash. McCarthy from the shotgun, Michigan from the 45-yard line. Ronnie Bell in motion, left to right, handoff Blake Corum. Hit at the 45 and eventually spun down at about the 47-yard line, a pickup of about 3 yards. On the stop for UConn is Justin Bryant. It'll be second down and 9.
Yeah, UConn, one of the things they do better is they're good at stopping the football, stopping the run. Big 97, Gelati Stafford on the D-line provided the initial hit against Corum, allowed his teammates to get there and make the tackle. Good play by them.
Transfer from Youngstown State in Ohio. Michigan right on the Maize and Blue block M at midfield. Ball sits at the 47-yard line, splitting the hashes. 2 receivers in the formation, 2 tight ends. JJ gets the snap, fakes the handoff left to Corum. He'll fire across the middle. Got Ronnie Bell inside UConn territory, brought down at the 39-yard line. Nice strike from JJ to Ronnie Bell. He's officially marked at the 38.
That's JJ's bread and butter right there. Play action. Let your routes develop. Ronnie coming across the middle. Those two have established an excellent connection so far.
How about the protection from the Michigan offensive line? There was no Husky in sight of J.J. McCarthy.
That's right. One of the better ones in the country, for sure.
Won the Joe Moore Award last season for Best Offensive Line. They still had to replace a number of names, but Michigan's got it first down and 10. J.J. fires right side. It's complete to A.J. Henning. Makes one man miss, 25. Brought down at the 23. Another Wolverine first down on the stop, this time for Connecticut, Malik Dixon-Williams. A.J. Henning on the reception. It's another Michigan first down.
JJ's ability to spread the ball out. And here's Andrell Anthony on the far side. First time we've seen him today.
I'd be interested to see right here if Connecticut plays with a cushion. Andrell is really good with the slant route. There's the cushion right there. Michigan from the 23-yard line, right hash. McCarthy fakes the handoff to Corum, bounces it out left side, picks up a block, 15, 10. Can he get the sideline? He's pushed out of bounds. Just beyond that 10-yard line, back-to-back-to-back plays. Michigan's picked up a first down. Owen, 9-yard line is the mark. First down, Wolverine.
That's right. That was certainly a better read than the first one, wasn't it, by J.J. McCarthy. Bounced outside, didn't try to do too much, took his space, got out of bounds. Great run for him, for the kid.
Michigan will substitute one tight end and a receiver for another tight end, an extra offensive lineman, and Ronnie Bell. First down and goal from the 9-yard line. J.J. McCarthy remains the quarterback. Play clock at 10. Michigan not quite set up yet.
It's a good timeout might be coming here. J.J. trying to hurry it up.
McCarthy from the gun. 2 receivers right. Gets the snap. And I think Jim Harbaugh did call a timeout with 1 second on the play clock. It was going to be a run to Blake Corum.
I'm curious as to what the holdup might have been for Michigan. J.J. got out of bounds. Plenty of time to set up your play.
I think it was the personnel change.
Personnel.
They ran on the extra lineman, Giovanni El-Hadi. And usually when that extra offensive lineman enters the game, and you know what, too? It now went to the injury tent. Oh, no. It's Trevor Keegan again. He was taken out of the game last week against Hawaii with a neck injury. And now he's back into that injury tent again. And I think that's where the offensive lineman change came from. Giovanni El-Hadi entered for the injured Trevor Keegan. Michigan does not have the depth on the offensive line to lose big names like that.
And Keegan, a mainstay on that O-line, part of the unit that won the Joe Moore Award last year. Huge loss there. I doubt we'll see him again.
McCarthy goes under center. 3 different tight ends in the formation. Gets a direct snap. Hands off to Blake Corum. 10. Sneaks his way down to the 7. He reaches the ball out to the 6-yard line, and he's brought down there. The Will linebacker, Jackson Mitchell, on the stop. Second down and goal from the 6.
A tough running there from Blake Corum. Kind of got swallowed up. Not many holes opening up there. Able to salvage 3 yards, though. It's been excellent on the ground today.
And now here's where that threat of J.J. McCarthy keeping the football comes into play. Watch the read option here. We saw Jalen Hurts do this against the Detroit Lions this past weekend from the goal line. I think they're relatively similar in that sense with the way they run the football. 3 tight ends still in the formation. Shotgun snap goes to McCarthy. Hands off Blake Corum. Runs over 1 defender. He's down to the 1. And now we're going to see full power. I think what we might see here is that old quarterback sneak, Owen.
Yep, that's right. And back to Blake Corum as we get an offensive line substitution in here. Probably going to be a run. Blake Corum, he's put on muscle over the offseason, and he's kind of got that Hassan Askins aspect. I wouldn't say it's quite like Hassan, but he can really power through those runners. So, it's great if you're a Michigan fan for Blake Corum.
5 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown so far for Blake Corum. He's the deep back in the eye set for the Wolverines here. McCarthy under center, gets the direct snap, turns right, hands off Blake Corum, up and over into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan from 1 yard out. It's a 13-0 lead for the Wolverines right here in Ann Arbor over Connecticut.
Nothing special about that play call whatsoever. 3 plays within the 10, all runs to Blake Corum. Nothing pretty, just got the job done. That's how that's what their identity has been over the last 2 seasons, especially last year, with all the talent they had in the running back room, and they just show it off right there.
I'll tell you what, that drive was a little bit different than that first scoring drive, wasn't it? 8 plays, 54 yards, and 4 minutes and 2 seconds off the clock to make it a 13-0 lead. Jake Moody will make it 14. Michigan leads by 2 possessions from the big house in Ann Arbor, and Connecticut will take over on offense after the kickoff.
Connecticut's got to respond here in this offensive drive. They looked better in the second one than they did in the first. So we'll see if they can respond, but so far, everything according to plan for the Wolverines.
I mean, Owen, the starting defense for Michigan has been fantastic.
It has.
Both weeks they've played, and miraculously, we're going to avoid a media timeout before the kickoff.
How about that? It's a blessing, certainly.
They got to make their money somehow, right?
Maybe after the kick. Hopefully not. Good showing by the Michigan faithful here today.
As I mentioned earlier, they've been really good for all 3 non-conference games that Michigan has played. These aren't premier opponents that they're playing against. You've got Colorado State, the opener, Hawaii, and then Connecticut now, and nothing bad to all 3 of those teams. Jake Moody kicks it away. Victor Rosa is underneath it in the south side of the end zone. And you'll call for a fair catch, let it bounce over his head. And Connecticut will start from the 25-yard line.
Like you said, Michigan's been great defensively, but if I had to say one thing, make sure Zion Turner, don't give him a lot of time. I mean, he's shown his ability in a couple plays here to extend the play. Fortunately, his guys have dropped a couple balls, but Michigan's defense has been outstanding. It's a unit that had a lot of question marks coming into the year. We talked about the losses they've had, and you can't be anything but impressed so far with what Harbaugh has his defense doing so far. Jesse Minter as well, new defensive coordinator. So they've been outstanding so far.
Only 6 total yards of offense for Connecticut. Michigan hosting a 14-0 lead, 2:52 to play in the first quarter. Turner gets the snap, hands off right side. Victor Rosa is met immediately by the interior defensive line for Michigan. The freshman Kenneth Grant, the first on the stop, 2nd down and 10 from the right hash.
We're already seeing a change of personnel on that defensive line. Brandon there for the stop. It's tough sledding for UConn's backs. And I'm surprised they're not getting Nathan Carter more involved. Only 1 carry on the day for 2 yards.
Michigan's got quite a few youngsters up front right now. The freshman Kenneth Grant and sophomores George Rooks and Rayshawn Benny. Turner under center, brings Turner in motion, gets the direct snap, hands off Turner. He lost it. On the footballs, George Rooks right on cue. Michigan will take over on possession from the 22.
And that's the second fumble that UConn's had today that has just been uncalled for. Michigan wasn't even there when he fumbled the ball. Quarterback Zion Turner had it, and then they fumble again. So just like costly mistakes here early for UConn, and Michigan with excellent field position. And this is where things might start to get away.
Michigan's going to have to try and outdo themselves on offense as they did. Now, into the backfield for the first time today will be C.J. Stokes. This will be interesting to see with no Donovan Edwards today, Owen, how much Stokes really does get a look at the running back position.
That's right.
They're set up for the future pretty well with Edwards, Stokes, and Tavier Dunlap.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
First down and 10 for Michigan from the 22-yard line. Set up around the left middle hash. In motion goes Henning. He'll get the ball on the right side from McCarthy to the 15. Picks up a block at the 10. Barrels over a defender at the 10-yard line. Trey Wortham was on the stop. The transfer from Delta College. A.J. Henning's had 2 touches, both resulting in a Michigan first down.
A.J. Henning in motion there. No one followed him. Indicates his own defense. So it really just comes down to the blocking. Michigan's been great on that aspect all game.
Boy, would it be nice to see Andrell Anthony get a touch here for the Wolverines. First down and goal from the 10. He's all alone in coverage on the far side of the field. McCarthy gets the snap, hands off to A.J. Henning, playing a Deebo Samuel-type role for the Wolverines. He picks up about 3 yards on the play. We'll call it the 7-yard line. Second down and goal from the 7.
Was just about to say that. Very Deebo Samuel-like for A.J. Henning, the way they have him moving all around the field. Also returns kicks, punts. So he's really everywhere. Kind of that gadget guy for Michigan. So Roman Wilson hasn't come in on this set. A lot of Andrell Anthony, C.J. Stokes as well.
C.J. Stokes is the bullet back in the pistol. In motion comes the big tight end, Eric Gall. He was lined wide out to the left. McCarthy will throw deep right to the end zone. It's incomplete. Ronnie Bell almost brought it in, but the back judge says an incomplete pass. Michigan was ready to celebrate. Did he bring that ball in, Owen?
He might have. That was a ridiculous effort by Ronnie Bell there on a miraculous throw by J.J. McCarthy over his shoulder.
He didn't have that.
Let's see the replay here.
The ground helped him bring it in.
Yeah, looks like he didn't establish control all the way down. Obviously, you have to do that.
This is tough as a radio broadcast, as a broadcaster in general. Why does Michigan have to have 2 quarterbacks with Mick to begin their last name?
McCarthy, McNamara.
It's a nightmare.
That's right. A couple Irish last names in our QB room.
3rd down and 7. McCarthy was looking towards the edge for Andrell Anthony. But Michigan will use another 30-second timeout. The play clock was about to expire. I think they were maybe waiting to see if they were going to review the play, but that play clock expired really fast on Michigan, and they've had to waste 2 timeouts now here in the first quarter.
That's right. That's right. I do like the timeout, though. 3rd and 7, you're in a big spot here. A chance for a touchdown. Obviously, field goal would be kind of disappointing with the starting field position you gained from the fumble. I like Michigan's 2 timeouts so far. I mean, sometimes Michigan fans get upset with the timeouts that Harbaugh calls. I think both here have been warranted, obviously, waiting for the review, like you said, but also you're in a tough spot here. You want to get a touchdown, 3rd and 7. It's hard to kind of develop routes this far into the field. So we'll see if Michigan can pull something out of their sleeve here.
Strong personnel for Michigan in the game right now. Ronnie Bell, Rowan Wilson, Andrell Anthony, and Eric All. One-on-one coverage again with Andrell on the far side of the field. McCarthy, the shotgun snap. Drops to throw. Steps away, flushed out to the right. Nears the 10-yard line. He wanted Roman Wilson in the end zone. Boy, did he have him wide open, but it was knocked away nicely.
Not only did he have Roman Wilson open in the end zone, it looked like McCarthy might have had a lane to run, at least early in that play's progression. Let's see the replay here. Linebackers kind of in coverage there. Kind of, yeah. Roman was open, though. Good play there by UConn.
Chris Sheeran, the transfer from Missouri, was in coverage. Jake Moody to attempt about a 24-yard field goal from the right hash. Good snap, good hold, kick away, and it splits the uprights. Michigan takes a 17-0 lead with 38 seconds remaining in the first quarter. And a bit of a disappointing ending to great field position after the UConn turnover.
Certainly disappointing. Excellent field position like you mentioned. And Michigan did this a couple times against Colorado State in Cade McNamara's start. Kind of ended up stalling within the opponent's red zone. Certainly a touchdown probably would have given Michigan the full momentum, but this game ain't over yet. I mean, 17-0 is, you know, obviously Michigan has the momentum. They've been dominant all game, but a touchdown there certainly would have given Michigan the dominant edge. Wonder if Michigan continues to kind of rotate their personnel with some of the bench players, or if they want to, you know, get an iron grip on this game.
I mean, they looked like they didn't skip a beat on the defensive front with George Rooks, Rayshawn Benny, and Kenneth Grant.
That's right. I'm sure they'll stay in the game for sure. Defense has been dominant.
Ball set up right hash, 35-yard line as Jake Moody is set to kick it away for Michigan. Victor Rosa once again deep to return for Connecticut. They'll call for a fair catch from the 2-yard line. Ball will land right in the breadbasket, and UConn will take over with 38 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Michigan leading 17-0 over the Connecticut Huskies from Ann Arbor.
It's like Michigan is kind of going back to their starters here defensively.
First down and 10 for Connecticut from the 25-yard line. Zion Turner, the quarterback, has Victor Rosa, the freshman, running back to his left. Now shifts him over to the right. A tight formation for the Huskies. Rosa fakes the handoff. Turner will keep it right side. He's going to be taken out of bounds by DJ Turner and Mike Barrett. Pickup of 5 on the play. Second down, 5 yards to go as he was pushed out on that right sideline. Clock will is supposed to continue long, but is currently stopped.
Turner showing off the legs there. Not really a runner so far this year. Kind of caught the Michigan defense off guard there. The read option. Good play by him.
Back into the full house. 2 fullbacks in the set. 1 running back is Rosa. Haven't seen Nathan Carter in 2 possessions now. Got to wonder if maybe something's going on with the big running back. There is a flag down right in the middle of the field. Rosa barreled forward for about 4. The initial call is holding on Connecticut, but we'll see. hold was called on Noel Ofori Niadu. So 2nd down and 5 will turn into 2nd down and 15. It would have been about 3rd down and 2 yards to go. And you've got to assume that Nathan Carter has something going on the far sideline. This clock will continue to churn. It's now under 5 seconds, and it doesn't look like Connecticut's going to snap this football.
Back to Nathan Carter. Something's got to be going on with him. I mean, he's their best player offensively. He's been the dominant rusher so far this year for the Huskies. Huge loss here for UConn. A couple big losses for both sides. Obviously, Trevor Keegan heading to the injury tent. His day is likely over.
I mean, you said it best in the pregame, Owen, that the key for Michigan throughout this ball game was to stay healthy. Now, Michigan has an offensive huddle on the far left bench on the near sideline as we're perched above the Michigan sideline. Trevor Keegan is right in the middle of that set with Sharon Moore.
He is.
He doesn't have a helmet, though, so you figure more than likely he's done for the game. And with the 17-0 lead and the defense currently having UConn backed up to 2nd and 15, that maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Giovanni El-Hadi, Raheem Anderson to get some meaningful snaps moving into Big Ten play.
100% agree. I mean, depth in O-line is as important as your starting unit. Fortunately, a lot of injuries happen. It's a physical sport. And best to play it safe with a guy like Trevor Keegan, part of a unit that won the Joe Moore Award last year, one of the leaders of this group. A lot of movement on this offensive line, like you said. Oluwatimi, the big center coming over from Virginia. Arguably Michigan's best offensive lineman by talent, but there's talent all over this line. The real question is depth, like you said.
What are the odds Michigan replaced an All-American at center with a Remington Award finalist, a transfer, and a smart kid at that, and Oluwatimi at center? I mean, that's just incredible recruiting.
Speaks to how dominant this offensive line is. You could say they're O-line U. Got a bunch of prominent linemen in the NFL. It's really the basis of this team's identity, especially in the latter part of Harbaugh's Michigan career. Really ground and pound last year. Best O-line in the country, best running back room in the country. Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards.
You couldn't really ask for much more last year, could you?
You really couldn't. And all you needed was a quarterback that knew how to play his role, and that's exactly what we had, and he was perfect for the job in K. McNamara. Got a stout defense. Unfortunately, David Ojabo suffered an injury during, I believe, a pro day. Otherwise, he certainly would have been a top 15 pick in the NFL draft, so you just couldn't have had a better roster than last year.
Now I'm trying to take a good peek into UConn's huddle with a pretty decent pair of binoculars, I'd say. What do you think, Owen?
It's a nice pair you got there. I like it.
But I do believe it's either 25 or 26. Nathan Carter was number 26. And the pads are completely off. So that's a big loss for UConn if that does happen to be Nathan Carter. Well, first quarter, it's a 17-0 lead for Michigan. What have been your first impressions of the Wolverines through the first quarter of week 3?
Dominant defensively, for sure. Right. Probably my main takeaway here. But also, I'm surprised that Michigan's not airing it out more. I'm not necessarily mad at it. But it seems like, J.J. McCarthy really opens up his offense, his ability to extend plays, the massive arm that he has, the accuracy, the arm power. But Michigan's offense has been extremely successful, obviously stalling on that last drive for a field goal, but otherwise they've been great. Kind of what we expected here. Like you said, I think it's good that they're getting more depth personnel in there, just in case down the road, maybe against a Michigan State, somebody goes down. Got to be ready to go. And
that starting defensive line still in right now. Mozzie Smith, Chris Jenkins, Jalen Harrell, and Mike Morris. They'll run an extra defensive lineman off and bring DJ Turner, the cornerback, back into the game. And just like that, Connecticut goes back to Cale Millen at quarterback. He entered the game for just one play, one rush for 3 yards. He's currently the leading rusher for Connecticut. Speed option right side, pitches to Victor Rosa. He'll be brought down by Mike Barrett at the 25-yard line.
It's like
the officials give him about an extra yard. It'll be third down and 9 yards to go for Connecticut.
A little extracurricular activity after that play. Everything's got settled, though. I like the speed option there. Good fake handoff. Millen's got outside.
Well, the calls seem pretty simple for Michigan's defense. When number 10 comes into the game and takes over for number 11 at quarterback, it's going to be a run.
Right.
100% run right now when Cale Millen is the quarterback. Zion Turner returns to the ball game. Brings the running back Victor Rosa to his right hip into the backfield. Michigan brings pressure off the edge. Fired. It's intercepted. Oh, Junior Colson had it, then dropped it, but there's going to be multiple flags down for pass interference.
They're probably going to knock DJ Turner on pass interference.
He was there early.
Yeah, he was there early. Zion Turner's impressed me. I mean, the stats might not show it, but the quarterback, a hostile environment. Zion Turner, he's been great. He's made some good reads. He's been safe with the ball. Likely drawing a pass interference here.
Jim Harbaugh's up on the numbers on the near sideline, urging it's offensive pass interference. I don't know, Coach.
I think Turner got in there a little early. I think you're right.
There's too many Turners on the field right now.
There's a lot of Turners.
Interference. Defense, number 5. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
I think that's the right call.
I think it is as well. We had a clear view of it. I think Turner got there a bit early.
It's obviously a bummer for Michigan, too, considering that wasn't going to be nearly enough for a first down if they were to have completed that pass.
No, it wasn't. Certainly no.
First down and 10 for Connecticut from the left hash, 30-yard line. Michigan has a 5-man front showing pressure. 2 tight ends in the ball game for Connecticut, 3 receivers wide out to the left. The running back is Robert Burns. Turner fakes the handoff to Burns, fires right side, incomplete. Jim Harbaugh was right there, it seemed like, in coverage. Tajon Harrison was the intended receiver. Turner missed him pretty badly on the right sideline. Second down and 10.
Yep, Harbaugh right on the sidelines there. Turner, not the best throw, possibly playing it safe, wants to avoid that pick 6. Potentially if the corner was able to jump the route there. Good defense by Michigan, keeping everything in front.
UConn's already used 4 different running backs in this ballgame. 14:05 to play second quarter. Michigan leads 17-0 over the Connecticut Huskies. The running back remains Robert Burns, the graduate transfer from Miami. He gets the call to the right side. Here comes Michigan defenders. Braden McGregor was the first one to stop him. And again, a bit of extracurricular activity. Junior Colson was right in there with the big right guard, Christian Haynes. Things starting to get a little chippy between Michigan and Connecticut right now.
That's right.
Third down, 8 yards to go.
A couple plays in this series now. Some activity after the play. Big third down and 7 here.
Last third down opportunity for UConn. They got the first down on a pass interference on DJ Turner. A trio of receivers wide to the left. They'll now scatter out. Michigan playing with a lot of cushion here in coverage. Turner gets a snap. He'll drop the throw. Feeling pressure from the backside. Fires deep left sideline. Mike Sainer still out there in coverage. It's incomplete. Intended for Jacob Flynn. The redshirt sophomore receiver from Southington, Connecticut. He had looked up and the ball was pretty much already by him. 4th down and 8 for Connecticut. And they'll be forced to punt it away with the Michigan transfer, George Caratan.
Yep. Michigan's defense looked a little bit confused pre-snap as UConn's offense kind of spread out there. Great job by Sanders, though, staying with his guy. Staying right with him.
A.J. Henning back deep to return for Michigan. His heels currently sit at the 25-yard line. Connecticut making a number of adjustments in the trenches before the punt. Caratan does not get it away. It's blocked by Caden Colasar. Picked up by Khalil Mullings. Down the left sideline to the 35-30. Mullings to the 25. Tiptoeing the sideline. He's brought down late out of bounds. Michigan's special team unit gets home for the first time. And they're set up in good field position in UConn territory.
And Colasar has been quite the special teams player over the last couple seasons for Michigan. Got to the punter there, able to block it. And like you said, Zach, I mean, it's just another example of Michigan being a great special teams unit. I mean, this special team is one of the more overlooked aspects of the game. It can truly win and lose you football games here. Flipping field position.
Bench. No fouls assessed. That's their first warning. First down, Michigan.
What I'm pretty sure this was a sideline warning on Michigan for celebrating the blocked punt. Caden Colasar came right around the left end. And I mean, look at the blocking, too, from Michigan's special teams unit out in front of Caden Colasar.
That's right. See if Michigan can punch it in here after stalling for a field goal in their last possession.
7 down linemen for Michigan. J.J. McCarthy under center. 2 receivers to each side. Cornelius Johnson, Ronnie Bell. Blake Corum is a deep back. Michigan from the left hash. Turns left handoff. Blake Corum past the 15-yard line. He's spun down to the 13. Again brought down by Brandon Boyer Randall, the graduate transfer from Texas Tech, having a pretty solid game for Connecticut.
Oh, called his name a couple times here. Grad transfer, experienced man of the group. Michigan looking to kind of replicate that ground and pound strategy that they had during their second touchdown. Maybe spreading it out a bit more here on this play.
2nd down, 4 yards to go. Just above 12:30 on the game clock in the second quarter. McCarthy brings Bell in motion, now returns to his spot on the right side. McCarthy fires out, right side Bell, 10, 5, cuts inside, dives towards the end zone. I think he's just short, 1 yard line is the mark for Ronnie Bell in the Wolverine offense. Michigan goes quick. They'll go no huddle straight away from the 1 yard line. Connecticut's defensive front having some trouble getting set up. McCarthy from the shotgun. Gets the snap from the 5 yard line. Hands off Blake Corum right up the middle. That's as easy as it'll get. Touchdown, Michigan. It's a 23-0 lead for the Maize and Blue. They're all over Connecticut from the big house.
Yeah, like you said, UConn's defense scrambling there. Michigan's tempo really bit them. Blake Corum able to punch it in. Easy touchdown for Michigan.
3 plays, 18 yards, 56 seconds. For Michigan and Blake Corum, who now has 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. You're potentially going to see him challenge the big number 5 that Hassan Haskins put up last year against Ohio State.
In this game?
Now, 2 different opponents.
That's true. 2 different opponents. Also 2 different situations. Haskins needed to play that entire game. Whereas Blake Corum...
Kick is up and it is good. It's now 24-0. Michigan, 12:08 to play in the second quarter. We'll enter a media timeout, and now we can converse.
That's right. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Blake Corum much for the rest of this game. Obviously, C.J. Stokes, we've talked about him. Coaching staff wants to get him involved. No Donovan Edwards today. Might propagate that even more. Corum is third of the day, is it? On the ground. That Haskins record. It's an iconic record. It's an iconic opponent, an iconic game, and a game that got Michigan in the Big Ten championship.
Michigan now a 24-0 lead. It would take 3 touchdowns and 3 2-point conversions for UConn to come back and tie up this football game. But truly, Owen, this has been all Michigan all day. Connecticut has had trouble with the football. 2 different fumbles. They recovered one of their own. And then on the transition, a handoff from Zion Turner to his running back, Victor Rosa. A fumble, and then the blocked punt. Michigan's defense and their special teams have joined together with the offense to have 3 beautiful phases of the game today, and that's why they're up by 24.
2 things, like you mentioned, self-inflicted wounds for UConn, a couple costly fumbles that really weren't caused by Michigan's defense, and also Michigan's dominance on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, as Michigan recognizes their hero of the game here.
Eugene Norm Cluck. It's always a beautiful moment when Michigan does this. We have well over 100,000 people, plus the football teams on the sidelines, that will join in recognizing an incredible veteran of the U.S. Army on Military Appreciation Day here at the Big House.
That's right.
Had a very nice parachute entrance. The game ball was delivered to midfield.
The Michigan PR team does an excellent job of
They really do.
keeping the entertainment going during the timeouts.
I mean, you've got so many of them.
Oh, yeah. You got to do something, right?
And that's the exact thing. I think week 1 was probably the worst, the game against Colorado State. Amir Bektash was on the call with me in the first half of that game, and we just sat through that. And he just asked me what I had for every single media timeout. I'm like, listen, man, there's too many of these things. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
That's right. It was a painful game to sit through as well. Hot day. I was in the stands.
I'm sure you were busy.
That I was. It's fun time. Always opening week at the Big House is always fun.
Especially the first time as reigning Big Ten champions. That was pretty cool to see.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A lot of anticipation coming into this season.
And, you know, one of the games we highlighted in the pregame that Owen Crain did a good job of talking about was Georgia and South Carolina. The Bulldogs are stomping the Gamecocks right now from South Carolina. It's 21-0 early second quarter. I mean, I thought Spencer Rattler and South Carolina might give them a bit of a fight, but Georgia is dominating South Carolina right now. Oklahoma is up 21-7 on Nebraska from Lincoln.
I will say Georgia's a tough team to beat, it's looking like. I mean, Alabama had a scare last week against Texas. Might beat Georgia and everybody else. I mean, I don't know if anyone's competing with them right now.
You think Georgia's a good football team?
They're okay. They're solid. I mean, we certainly saw them last year in the playoff.
Don't you gotta love when the kicker finally runs up to the ball and all the anticipation just dies because it just falls off the tee.
Yeah, the wind ruining everything.
I think that was you blowing from up here in the booth.
My lungs are that powerful.
You gotta get back to calling the football game. 24-0 Michigan. Jake Moody will walk up to the football, boot it away, and Victor Rosa says no thank you. It'll bounce straight through the H in the north end zone of Michigan Stadium, and Connecticut will take over for their fourth offensive possession. They've had almost nothing all day, Owen. 16 yards of offense compared to Michigan's 171, but they're without Nathan Carter. Their starting running back seems to be injured, hasn't played since the first possession of the game.
Yep, and because of the defensive dominance that Michigan's exploited here, going to be a change in personnel for the Wolverines defensively. 55, Mason Graham, the big D lineman in there among other reserve players. Still some starters in there, but Michigan changing it up defensively.
And right back out of the injury tent comes Nathan Carter. He's into the game off the left hip of Zion Turner. He'll get the call on 1st down and 10. Bounces it around a couple of defenders. There's the big freshman from Baltimore, Derek Moore, making the stop at the 25-yard line. Bring up 2nd down and 10. A beautiful job of setting the edge, staying home, and making the stop.
Oh, for sure, 100%. And Nathan Carter, his first game since leaving the field, first play rather, since leaving the field. You can just tell when the ball's in his hands, he brings a different dimension to this running game. Very explosive, but Michigan's D-line, like you said, setting the edge, getting there, making a great play.
And then he exits the game immediately on the next play. Two different running backs into the game for UConn, Robert Burns and the freshman Victor Rosa. One tight end in the formation, Brandon Nemensky. He sets up on the right side. Turner claps his hands, gets the snap. RPO action, fires left side, incomplete. Wanted Rosa. In coverage was DJ Turner. 3rd down and 10 for UConn.
One of the rare plays today where the UConn offensive line has really given Zion Turner some time to operate, and you just missed this guy there. Michigan's defense continuing to just dominate in all 3 levels.
Nathan Carter re-enters the game. 2 carries for just 2 yards so far. He's 3rd in the country in rushing yards in NCAA. 384 yards, averaging 6.5 yards per carry through 3 games. 3 receivers wide to the left, 2 to the right. Robert Burns now joins the left side. He was the other running back in the set. Now comes in motion from left to right. Turner the snap, drops to throw. Throws right side, a screen pass, almost intercepted by Will Johnson. The pass was incomplete, intended for Jacob Flynn on a bubble screen, but Michigan all over it once again, 4th down and 10.
Even when UConn tries to play conservatively, get a couple of yards to cushion that punt, Michigan is right there, not giving UConn anything. Will Johnson almost had a pick 6 too, like you mentioned. This crowd would have exploded at that. Very talented freshman.
George Caratan back on the field. The punt for UConn. Last time he saw action, his punt was blocked by Caden Colasar. The special teams ace lines up on the left side of Michigan's defensive front. Not as much pressure this time from the Wolverines. A nice punt from Caratan. It flies towards the 30. Henning calls for a fair catch as he backpedals to the 28-yard line. Michigan will take over 1st down and 10 as we enter a media timeout. Michigan leading 24-0 over the Connecticut Huskies. The visitors from Storrs, Connecticut, trailing by 3 possessions.
Yeah, 3 possessions.
11:07 to play.
That's right. And Michigan, not gifted great field position here. I'm going to have an opportunity to really have another long, sustained, successful drive. I'm sure that would mean a lot to them. Just getting more familiar with J.J. McCarthy at the helm. Obviously, a lot of skill players returning from last season. The majority, you got Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards. The list goes on. But not many snaps with J.J. last year. Cade McNamara was largely the starter. Obviously, J.J. popped in and out. But it was Cade's team last year. And
J.J.'s best connections were with Andrell Anthony and with Dalen Baldwin, who is obviously no longer with the team.
Right. And Anthony, not the starter, not a starting receiver, it seems, at least early on.
Plenty of action, but
plenty of action.
One target so far this season.
That's right. And I think Anthony's got a lot of potential. Saw it against Michigan State. That first touchdown was insane. 73
He's fast,
yards.
he's smart, he's got great hands, and he's becoming more physical too. I think the one thing Jim Harbaugh wants him to work on is the blocking aspect. That's obviously so big as a receiver. Earlier into the ball game, he put on a nice block on the right edge for A.J. Henning on that screen pass down inside the UConn red zone. But that's so important, especially for Michigan, who they really depend on their receivers a number of times to put on good blocks. We've seen them on the Roman Wilson long scampers for the touchdown. And earlier today, Eric All, one of the best blockers on the team, put on a beautiful block to send Roman for 38 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right, especially with how Michigan is using kind of the short passes, at least in this game and throughout this year, at least early on. Wide receiver blocking, tight end blocking, like you mentioned, Zach, is going to be essential for Michigan going forward. They've got some great blockers on the outside as well. Cornelius has been great throughout his career. Like you said, Andrell Anthony threw a good one for A.J. Henning. Eric All and Luke Schoonmaker. Very good blocking tight ends there for Michigan. So cannot be said enough how important wide receiver blocking, pass catching blocking in general is to this Michigan team and what they're trying to do. 1 minute remaining before the media timeout concludes. And I'll ask you, Owen, we look across the landscape of collegiate football today. What is your game to watch tonight? Who are you watching and why?
Well, I'd be lying to myself if I didn't say Michigan State and Washington. Michigan State obviously ranked 11th. It's a tough environment. Michigan State obviously Michigan's rival. Similar situation last season with Washington coming to Michigan for a night game early in the year. Washington looks like a better team this year. You've also got to think
that's a 4:30 kick on the West Coast.
That's true. It's a good point. It's a good point.
So Michigan State avoids the night game, but it's a purple out for Washington. That's their version of the white out or the maize out that Michigan and Penn State put on.
Sounds intimidating, to say the least.
One of the loudest stadiums in college football, I've heard. I'm excited to go out there later in this decade and see what Seattle's all about.
Michigan will be going out to the West Coast in a couple of years now with UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten.
First down and 10 for the Wolverines from the 29-yard line. They set up on the left hash. J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback, sends C.J. Stokes into the pistol formation. He turns left, hands off Stokes, sneaks through the middle. He continues to drive his legs. He finds his way to the 40-yard line. That's a pickup of 11 yards right along the left hash mark. It's a Wolverine first down, and they're moving fast, Owen.
Yeah, what's really impressed me about C.J. Stokes so far this season, his ability to generate yards after contact. If you know of Javonte Williams of the Denver Broncos, he does that better than anybody. And C.J. Stokes reminds me of him, showing it off right there, dragging defenders.
One receiver wide out to the right. Ronnie Bell will now join him in motion. C.J. Stokes gets the handoff, and he's brought down in the backfield. Nice play by the UConn defensive tackle Eric Watts on the stop. A loss of 2. Second down and 12 yards.
Yeah, Watts just marching to the backfield unblocked there. Stop Stokes in his tracks. Good play there after the big gain on the ground for the Huskies.
He's the biggest player on UConn's defense, 6'6", 268 pounds, the junior from Sumter, South Carolina. Second down, 12 yards to go. Michigan splits the hashes. 2 receivers wide right, 1 to the left. 1 tight end in the set is Luke Schoonmaker. McCarthy hands off left side. Stokes, he's brought down almost immediately again. 4 different Huskies were in the backfield. Bryce Yates on the stop this time.
Great pursuit again by UConn. Back-to-back plays, stopping C.J. Stokes behind the line of scrimmage. Big 3rd and 14 here for Michigan. Let's see if they air it out.
I'd be interested to see if Michigan picks up a chunk of yardage here if they're willing to go for it on 4th down and medium or 4th down and short. Trips to the right, one tight end, Schoonmaker, still in the formation left. Michigan sets up from the 36-yard line, J.J. McCarthy in the shotgun. Gets the snap, drops to throw. Some pressure coming from UConn, got plenty of time to throw. J.J. rolling out, he's flushed and he's sacked down. He can't take that much time. Michigan somehow not able to get anyone open. I figured maybe he'd try and run that ball. It's a loss of about 3 yards on the play. 4th down and 16 for Michigan, and they're forced to punt.
And JJ certainly took his sweet time there. Upset with himself, run to the sideline. Had a lot of room to run, like you said, Zach, kind of looking through his reads. Good job by UConn, staying poised. That's 3 plays in a row for them successfully defensively, so give them their props.
Victor Rosa deep to return for Connecticut. Brad Robbins in punt formation for Michigan. They bring the house. Brad gets it off. Another nice punt. It'll bounce one time at the 22. Continue to bounce inside the 10. Keep moving. It's brought in by Rod Moore. Oh, boy, why'd he touch it that soon?
Yeah,
it would have been down at about the 1-yard line, but it's down at the 4. Well done by Brad Robbins. A beautiful punt. But I'll tell you what, Rod Moore down that a bit prematurely, I think. With the way it was moving, it looked like it was going to groove down to the 1-yard line.
Yep, definitely a little premature. Not the end of the world. Obviously still at the 4-yard line. Pretty bad field position for this UConn offense. But man, Brad Robbins, I tell you, he's a heck of a punter.
He brought it to the special teams earlier, this group, getting their props.
He is outstanding. Had a great punt against OSU last year that pinned him inside the 5 in a crucial moment. I mean, he has been nothing but excellent for this Michigan special teams unit.
UConn will go under center for just the 2nd time this afternoon. Zion Turner underneath his center, Jake Guidone. Hands off right up the middle. Nathan Carter gets the call. He barrels his way to the 9-yard line. Pickup of about 5 yards. Junior Colson on the stop. Bring up 2nd down and 5.
What's with Nathan Carter? I mean, because he's going on and off the field. Are you going to commit to him, or are you going to commit to resting him? Because if he's injured, do you want to risk it against a Michigan team in which you're down 24-0? But if you're going to play him, why not just play him?
A reminder, Nathan Carter, 3rd in the country in rushing yards, entering today with 384. A full house set for UConn. 1 man in motion from right to left. Now into the weak pistol, 1 running back behind Turner. He'll flip to Carter, left side. Michigan's defense in pursuit. Junior Colson there once again. It'll bring up 3rd down and short as Carter gets to the 11-yard line. Pickup of 2 yards. 3rd down and 3 for the UConn offense.
I will say I like how UConn is using Carter. Tried to get him out in space. Obviously, Michigan's been outstanding up front, meeting Carter everywhere he's trying to go. But, again, 3rd down, no Nathan Carter. And he's a good receiver as well for UConn. So, kind of head-scratching there.
Here's the change in quarterback again. Zion Turner is out. Cale Millen enters. He's been in the game for 2 snaps, both quarterback runs. Tries to get Michigan to jump off sides. He now moves the running back Victor Rosa in motion from his left to his right hip. Claps his hands, gets the snap. Hands off to Rosa, left end. He'll barrel forward and eventually be pushed back. I don't think he got it, Owen. It's a pickup of about 1.5 yards. Chris Jenkins was the first one there. And that's going to bring up 4th down, and UConn is forced to punt.
Yep, excellent job by Michigan's defense. Once again, dominating the line of scrimmage, forcing UConn to punt. It's kind of the blessing of having a punter like Brad Robbins. Normally on a 4th and 1, if you're in between the 20s, maybe going for it, but pinned them back deep, and UConn's forced to punt on a 4th and 1.
The Michigan transfer, George Caratan, once again to punt for UConn. A.J. Henning standing back in Michigan territory at the 44. Boy, did they bring the house again. A nice punt from Caratan. Henning will receive it at the 40. Make 1 man miss. Cut away from 2 defenders. He's at the 50. Henning 45-40. Gets away from another. 35-20. He's inside the UConn red zone. Cuts inside. Touchdown, Michigan. A.J. Henning all the way to the house for 6.
I couldn't count how many tackles that A.J. Henning evaded. It had to be at least 5 or 6. I mean, that was an outstanding return. Looked like he might have gotten stopped around the 50. Just kept on chugging. Wow. Another special teams big play, huh?
61 yards on the return for A.J. Henning. It's a 30-0 lead for the Wolverines. Wow. That 3-letter word says it all, doesn't it?
That's right.
Jake Moody on to attempt the extra point. Robbins' hold is a good one. The kick is up. It's good. 31-0 Michigan over UConn with 6:05 to play in the second quarter. Wow, Owen, that was a beautiful return from A.J. Henning. He brought it in at the 39-yard line. He stumbled once or twice and then picked up a couple of nice blocks, mainly from Cornelius Johnson, and then was able to make one more man miss. Joe Taylor from Chelsea, Michigan, put on a nice block, and Henning made his way in for a Michigan score.
Yeah, and that was kind of the first big touchdown play for Michigan so far this afternoon. Offense is steadily moving the ball down the field. Excellent return, like you said, by Henning. Not only great blocking, but Henning able to evade many tacklers one-on-one and made the last guy miss as well. So having an established punt returner, especially with Ronnie Bell going down last year, probably not returning punts as much. So having a guy like A.J. Henning with big playability, I mean, Michigan fans remember 2016, Jabril Peppers. He was a threat every time he returned a punt to take it to the house. Having a guy like A.J. Henning who could really break one, it's huge for a team like Michigan that plays in a very competitive division in a competitive conference.
I mean, if we really want to flip the coin, though, what about the breakdown of UConn's special teams unit? Yeah. I mean, this has not been a great performance for UConn on the end of special teams, and it's really costed them field position numerous times. The offense has a couple of fumbles under their belt, but I mean, it seems like the self-inflicted wounds for UConn are just killing them on both sides of the ball. All three phases of the game, really, for the Huskies.
Especially on offense. I mean, they're dropping fumbles. Special teams obviously had the blocked punt. Shout out to Caden Colasar for getting there, and the Henning return now. So it just been Michigan's special teams dominance, their defensive dominance, the line of scrimmage, and the UConn, like you said, Zach, self-inflicted wounds offensively with the dropped fumbles. Got to work on their ball control. It's an essential part of the game. And Michigan hasn't beat them with 90-yard touchdowns. They haven't ran for 66-yard gains. I know that's a weird number, but Michigan's just steadily drove the ball down the field and has been dominant. Besides the Henning punt return, not many eye-popping moments. I know you had a big Roman Wilson screen. So, yeah.
6:05 to play in the second quarter. A.J. Henning, 61-yard touchdown return on the punt from George Caratan puts Michigan up by 31. And, I mean, what a start it was for Michigan. Now leading by 31-0, and the expectation for this team was to roll in this game, and they're doing just that.
Oh yeah, and they're doing it brilliantly. Really, their defense has been dominant. JJ for the most part has been great. Obviously, going to have your highs and lows as a first-year starting quarterback. I think the blocking's been excellent. Really, the importance of the little things Michigan has done so greatly. They haven't made a ton of eye-popping plays, like I said before. Obviously, A.J. Henning just took one to the house, 60-yard punt return, but Michigan's doing all the little things. They're playing well on special teams. They're blocking well. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. It's really been a joy to watch.
I also want to put out there, too, that Michigan's starting defense has not allowed a point through 3 games.
Yeah. Yep. Extremely impressive. Obviously, moving to the reserves at halftime for Hawaii and Colorado State, which is where the points came. But Michigan's starting defense, man, had a lot of question marks going into this season, losing a lot of pieces, new defensive coordinator, and they have been nothing but outstanding so far.
Jake Moody kicks it away to Victor Rosa, who watches it fly over his head through the north end zone here at Michigan Stadium. It's a Wolverine 31-0 lead with 6:05 to play in the second quarter. UConn takes over on offense, and we get to see the Michigan defense once again, Owen.
We do. And I would certainly imagine that some starters will be headed to the bench. I see Mozzie Smith still out there. Taylor Upshaw now coming off. So the starters might be back in there. So, again, like you said, preparing for Maryland, which is not a team to be played around with. Good to see the starters out there, at least for the remainder of the half.
UConn sets up from the 25-yard line, starting at the left hash. Full house formation for Zion Turner and the Huskies. Gets a snap, fakes the handoff to Carter Wright. Here comes Michigan's defense in pursuit. Khalil Mulling's the first one on the stop. Turner dives forward to the 22-yard line, 2nd down and 8.
Yeah, that was a dangerous dive for Turner. I mean, diving head first into a crowd of Wolverines. Already, like you said, starting quarterback tore his ACL week 1. I would imagine that he'd have to work on some sliding this week as a quarterback. And we've seen Zion Turner take off quite a bit today. Not really known for his running.
Here's that quarterback switch one more time. Turner out. Cale Millen enters to the ball game. Robert Burns, the running back, off his right hip. It's a designed quarterback run, and he's brought down right away. Chris Jenkins was in there first. Jalen Harrell followed him up. It's a loss of about a yard. Bring up second down and 9 yards for UConn.
That's right, and we've talked about this before. Whenever Millen subs into the game at quarterback, it's likely to be a QB draw. I mean, who does UConn think they're fooling here? Every time Millen has ran the ball.
Right back into the ball game, Zion Turner and Nathan Carter. The sophomore running back from Rochester, New York, will now split out wide to the right. He draws one-on-one coverage with Mike Sainristil, the new nickelback for the Wolverines. Carter now returns to the backfield, right off that right hip of Zion Turner. Gets a snap, drops to throw. It was a low snap, now fires across the middle. Incomplete. Oh boy, Makari Page put a licking on Nathan Carter. It'll bring up fourth down.
Makari Page made sure Nathan Carter had no chance of catching that ball. Carter was bobbling it. Known as a pretty good receiver, Makari Page laid the hit stick on him. Incomplete pass, good play by him. Hard hit. That's how you play football right there. Nothing dirty about that play whatsoever. Hard hit, shoulder to shoulder.
Bobbled it once or twice,
Yep.
and Makari Page, and all of his right, he knocked Carter right on his backside.
Carter likely already banged up before that play, too.
Caratan in punt formation again, and A.J. Henning will get about a shorter kick this time. He's hit once again. Tommy Zozus, the long snapper who was penalized earlier for kick-catch interference, almost runs into Henning one more time. First down, Michigan. They'll start at the 40-yard line on their own side of the 50 and will enter perhaps the final media timeout of the second quarter.
Fingers crossed for that one. Michigan's offense coming out here. Curious to see if they stick with JJ. I'd imagine they'd ride him for the rest of the half. Here's JJ on the big screen getting a big applause from the Michigan faithful.
They really haven't asked much of J.J. McCarthy today. 8 of 11, 113 yards. I mean, this is going to go down as his worst performance of the year. I almost grabbed your shoulder to look at you and say that 8 for 11 for 113 is his worst performance of the year.
Right, right. And I think if you're a Michigan fan, you actually look at that and you're up 31-0. That means other guys are doing great things. I mean, J.J. McCarthy, we know how dynamic of a player he is. But like I said before, defensive question marks coming into this year. They've played excellent. C.J. Stokes has played great. Blake Corum has played great. JJ's truly showing that he doesn't have to be the star of the show all the time for this offense to have success. And I would argue he's been as good as he has been in every game. Maybe statistically it's his worst game, but I think JJ's been great.
And an update from Learfield Radio from Michigan about Trevor Keegan as he's series to series, so he's doing all right. It's nice to know that he's willing to be active for Michigan. They don't need to play him at this point.
No, they do not, and they shouldn't.
And Giovanni Alhadi could truly use the repetition as he'll fall into that starting slot next year. Michigan's going to lose a number of offensive linemen to both graduation and the draft.
Yep. I would be confused if Trevor Keegan saw the field again today. I mean, you laid it out right there. Obviously, don't want to risk the re-injury, but also Alhadi needs to get in there. Might be called upon sooner than expected, certainly being called upon here. There is no reason in a game in which Michigan is dominating the line of scrimmage offensively for Trevor Keegan to see the field again today. And I'm sure he wants to play, but you cannot risk an injury with a guy as important to a unit and to a team overall as Trevor Keegan. Again, not exactly as sure how serious the injury is. He did go to the injury tent, so I would imagine it's something. But Keegan now on the field. He's got his pads on, no helmet. Talking to
both of the officials. I mean, you've got to figure his day is done.
Yeah.
Michigan entered today with, I mean, to be quite frank, a laundry list of pretty important players on the injury report, including Nikai Hill-Green sitting for his third consecutive game, injured in preseason and not active for all of Colorado State, Hawaii, and now UConn. Michigan's Donovan Edwards was hurt last week on the Donovan Edwards touchdown drive, the long run, the catch, and then the run for 6.
That's
I would like to see Angelo Anthony get involved on this offensive drive.
I would too. And
he's not on the field to start.
The field looks like the starters are out there. Certainly the starting receivers are. I'm sure we'll see Andrell a lot in the second half. JJ has established great connections, though, through 3 games with his primary receivers. So for a Michigan fan, you got to love to see that.
Following the media timeout, first down Wolverines from the Michigan 40-yard line. Leading at 31-0. Ronnie Bell in motion. Gets the screen out to the left. Picks up a number of blocks inside UConn territory. Tiptoes down the sideline, makes one man miss, and he's ripped down at the 35. Nice block from both Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson. And that McCarthy to Bell connection has been improved week to week.
Yep, and Michigan's receivers today really showing off the ability to make guys miss. Bell just did it there. Roman Wilson did it a number of times on that opening series, and A.J. Henning obviously with the punt return. So Michigan making guys miss. Also, the great blocking like you mentioned.
Nice pickup on the play from McCarthy to Ronnie Bell. A couple of nice blocks from the Michigan wide receiving core. McCarthy gets the snap, fakes the handoff left to Blake Corum. McCarthy fires. Big tight end Luke Stuemaker to the 5. He's cut down just shy of the goal line. Look at that. Blake Corum might get another chance at a 1-yard touchdown carry.
Hey, you were saying it. You were saying
I think he was the first one to look over to the sideline and be like, come on, coach, give me one more.
And he's out there right now. Going back to Luke Schoonmaker, though, hasn't been the receiver that he really was last year. Hasn't really gotten many looks. Good to see him getting involved there from a pass-catching standpoint. Also, here's Andrell Anthony on the bottom side here from our view.
Michigan will go into the I formation. Now the Wolverines will run off an extra offensive lineman, Jeff Percy. Still 2 tight ends in the formation. 1 fullback, 1 deep back is Blake Corum. He'll get the call right side. He'll scamper into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. It's 37-0, and the Wolverines are pouring it on Connecticut from the big house.
Blake's got 4 touchdowns and 9 rushes, guys. I mean, that's just how dominant this rushing attack has been today. Especially in goal-to-go situations. Michigan just punching it in. I mean,
the offensive line looks nothing but dominant when it gets to the trenches inside the 5, hasn't it?
Certainly has, especially without their starting left guard, Trevor Keegan. It's great to see if you're a Michigan fan. And, again, Michigan doesn't need to do all this play-action stuff in goal-to-go situations. They don't need to get pretty at all as Moody makes the extra point. They're just sticking true to what they know, old-school football like they did last year. Blake Corum, 4 touchdowns in the first half. It's ridiculous.
We don't know how much we'll see of the Michigan starting lineup in the second half, but I mean, you want to say pouring it on a team, it's 38-0 with 3:11 to play in the first half. And this jolly maize and blue crowd has nothing to be upset about on a beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely nothing to be upset about. Absolutely nothing. Beautiful day in the big house, like you said. After last week's Hawaii game, which had some rain delays, got kind of annoying. All clear here. A couple clouds in the sky. Dominant performance by Michigan. Nothing you can complain about on Saturday afternoon here.
Well, Blake goes from 2 touchdowns now to 6 touchdowns on the young season. He's going to be called upon times aplenty come Big Ten play.
Oh, for sure.
They'll need to get Donovan Edwards back at some point, but we'll see a lot of C.J. Stokes, I'm sure, in the second half.
It's interesting from a yardage standpoint. Ronnie Bell continues to be J.J. McCarthy's favorite receiver. Obviously kind of polar opposites. J.J., kind of the young guy coming in here. Ronnie Bell, the veteran. It's great to see that connection. Ronnie fully healthy, obviously now. A year away from that torn ACL. It's great to see him back in the field, being one of Michigan's best players.
Michigan's going to need a holder now as the ball's fallen off the tee 2 different times for Mr. Jake Moody. Looks like Jamon Green, the twin of... No, that's German Green. Jamon Green is the twin, both from DeSoto, Texas.
It's like German is more of a special teams player, and Jamon is more of a defender. Just in the starting aspects.
Cade McNamara getting warmed up on the near sideline for Michigan, up 38. A squib kick will bounce into the end zone. Right over by the Michigan student section, and UConn will begin at the 25-yard line. First down and 10. A 38-0 lead for Michigan with 3:11 to play in the first half. nothing short of dominant so far for Michigan, Owen.
Nothing short. You're right about that. And Michigan bringing on some reserves once again defensively. Been dominant defensively.
That last touchdown drive, 3 plays, 60 yards, only took 1 minute and 22 seconds off the clock. It began at the Michigan 40-yard line. Zion Turner, the quarterback for UConn, in the shotgun. The pistol back is Nathan Carter, finally back into the game for UConn. Pressure coming, fires right side, incomplete. Aaron Turner was the intended receiver. Mike Sainristil came right off that edge again, and boy, did he fold Zion Turner in half.
That he did. That's the second time Mike Sainristil has flown into the backfield untouched. Did it earlier in the first quarter. No one blocked him. A big piece of Zion Turner there.
And Turner bounces up to his feet a bit gingerly after being helped up by a number of his offensive linemen. Second down, 10 yards to go for UConn. A bunch set wide to the right. Robert Burns now leaves the bunch and is in motion wide to the left. Nathan Carter gets the call, but he's brought down from behind. Jalen Harrell on the stop. Pickup of 3 for UConn. Third down and 7 yards to go.
I know Jalen Harrell was talked about quite a lot in the pregame show. Showing off the speed there, kind of chasing Carter down. Good play by him.
Let's see this big house crowd get revved up one more time here in the second half. And then Michigan potentially with a chance to run the 2-minute drill. Scooch their lead above 40. Turner and shotgun. 2 receivers wide out to each side. Dropping to throw. Here comes pressure. Steps out to the right. Continuing to be flushed. He's at the 25. He'll keep it. 30-yard line to the 35. Got a UConn first down. Pushed out of bounds at the 42 by Mike Barrett. There was no one home for Michigan on the near side of the field. Owen, first down UConn. That's a smart play by Zion Turner. Just 2 plays after being hit hard by Mike Sainristil.
Oh, yeah. Unaccounted for was Zion Turner on the near side of the field. Bunch of open grass. Took it wisely. Took it out of bounds. Respectful showing by the Michigan sideline, kind of making sure he doesn't tumble his way down. Great play there by Zion.
Pick up a 14 yards on the play. He now goes under center. A tight formation for UConn. In motion left to right goes Aaron Turner. Carter the deep back. Fake handoff. Pressure coming from behind. Turner steps away. Now steps up into the pocket. Gets away one more time. Slides down at the 45.
There's the slide.
He's marked just shy of the 45-yard line. The 44 is the mark. Pickup of 2 yards on the scramble. Second down and 8. Rayshawn Benny was right there to force him down into the slide. UConn lines up their offense on the left side of the famed Block M at midfield. 44-yard line for Connecticut. Second down, 8 yards to go. Nathan Carter is the back for UConn. 2 receivers split wide to each side. Carter gets the call right up the middle, finds a crease inside Michigan territory, dives down to the Michigan 47-yard line. Another Husky first down, Owen.
Yep, one of the better plays for the UConn offense thus far. Carter right up the middle, found a hole, exploited it. First down by run by him. That's the Nate Carter we know, one of the better backs in college football. Good to see him healthy, certainly.
Clock now melting below a minute. Carter remains the back. Turner gets the snap. He'll drop to throw. He'll fire deep left side. That's incomplete. Jacob Flynn was the intended receiver. DJ Turner all over him in one-on-one coverage.
Throw looked to be a little outside by Zion Turner. Receiver had to come in a bit. Play there by DJ Turner, though, staying with it.
UConn has picked up almost half of their yardage in the game on this drive right here. Michigan outgaining the Huskies 236-55. 3 receivers split wide to the right for Connecticut, 1 wide to the left. Nigel Fitzgerald in one-on-one coverage with DJ Turner.
Someone jumps.
No, I think everyone jumped except for the center.
Which would be on the center.
Sorry. Offense, number 62. 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's the second penalty of the ball game on Noel Ofori-Niadu. I think they just picked one.
Yeah, they
and
picked
kind
one.
of rode with it.
Yep, that's what they do. But if everyone moves and the center doesn't, obviously the other linemen know the snap count and the center didn't snap it in time.
The center, Jake Woodone, kind of got away with one as he was the only Husky to not move for UConn. I think they jumped off sides again, but they'll let him play through it. Turner fires. Nice play by Mike Barrett on the left side. He barreled straight through Nathan Carter. Pass dropped incomplete. 3rd down and 15 yards to go.
It's really intriguing to see the resurgence of Michael Barrett. It was kind of Michigan's golden child in 2020. Remember back against Minnesota in that opening game, he was amazing. Kind of got sidelined in 2021, but he's back for Michigan in 2022. And kind of showing why there he's on the field, popping in the backfield and popping Nathan Carter.
Playing a prominent role when Nakai Hill-Green has been sidelined these first couple of ball games. Turner calling out the signals. Nathan Carter the back to his left. 2 receivers wide to the right, 1 wide out to the left. Bo Estes, the tight end, is the up back to the right side. Turner gets the snap. He's going to throw again. Fires to a wide open man, Nathan Carter. Michigan's defense quickly in a pursuit. Makari Page rips him down. It'll bring up 4th down as Carter was brought down 2 different times.
See what UConn wants to do here. 4th and 6.
They're going to go for this. They just call the timeout.
Yep. Got to go for it.
Coach Jim Harbaugh and Jim Mora are very familiar with each other.
Are they?
He said they do know of each other. Nice. Jim Mora was the head coach at UCLA from 2012 to 2017, but he's also had stints in the NFL with both the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons. Took a while off from coaching and was brought back to Storrs this year to take over really what is a drowning Connecticut program. Their last winning season was in 2010. And guess who they opened with that year?
Michigan. There you go.
That was the first ever game played between Michigan and Connecticut. Played right here at the Big House. Michigan won that game 30-10. After the timeout, 28 seconds to play in the half. Turner from the shotgun. Got Carter to his left. A tight bunch wide to the left. He'll throw for it. Almost intercepted again by Will Johnson. The intended receiver was Kevin Sklercius for the Huskies. Michigan does not have bad field position, Owen.
No, they don't.
24 seconds to play, and they're going to start at their own, what are we calling this, the 43?
Yeah, somewhere around there, a little before the 50. See what Michigan wants to do here. I mean, 40 points at halftime, if they can get in field goal position, would certainly look very nice.
Cade McNamara will take over at quarterback for Michigan. And here we go. How about the crowd?
There you go. That's a way better response than last week. Finally. You love to see that.
That's incredible.
Well deserving. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome to see for the Michigan faithful.
Well, let's see what Cade can do, huh? 3 receivers wide to the left, 28 seconds to play. 1st down and 10 for Michigan. Cade drops to throw, steps up in the pocket. Oh boy, he's ripped down and sacked. Well, that's not a good start.
No, it's not.
When the clock will move, and just like that, Michigan will call a timeout very quickly. Eric Watts on the sack. Well,
I'm not necessarily on Cade, I would say. Obviously, he took some time with the ball there. DN kind of got the best.
He didn't feel the pressure off his front side.
Yeah, and Trent Jones, our right tackle, Michigan's right tackle, rather, only new starter here. So, obviously, he's got some lack of experience. But Cade did take quite a bit of time to throw that ball. But going back to the response, man, it's great to see.
That was nice.
It's excellent to see.
A standing ovation and a nice cheer from the Big House crowd.
Got a "Let's Go Cade" chant. Look, it's looking like here from the students. Certainly deserving of that. Shouldn't have to pay for another meal in Ann Arbor if I had it my way.
2nd down, 15 yards to go. 16 seconds to play. I'd like to see Jake Moody's leg from distance. McNamara steps up. Pressure coming. Fires. Long down the right sideline for Ronnie Bell. He's got it. 45-yard line of UConn. Michigan's got to move quick.
Love that Cade took a shot there. Normally known for playing a bit conservative, dumping it off, but went for it all with Ronnie Bell right there, and he came down with it.
Only 8 seconds to go. McNamara from under center gets the snap, spikes it. 5 seconds ran off the clock there, and I think we might see Jake Moody. This would be
61-yard attempts, it would be.
We're going to see Jake Moody. Oh, boy, here we go.
This is going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. Could go awfully wrong, but why not? I mean, you're up 38-0. This has to be, I would imagine, some sort of record. I mean, this is a 61-yard field goal, ladies and gentlemen.
The career long for Jake Moody is 52. UConn is going to take a timeout. And much like last year, if you remember the Michigan State game, Mel Tucker took all 3 timeouts before Jake Moody finally got an attempt to kick the field goal.
Pettiness at its finest from the Spartans. No shortage of that in this excellent in-state rivalry we have. Excited for that game at the Big House this season. See if UConn's got 1 timeout left, so I'd say why not? Probably going to ice him again here. Maybe do the fake ice. Have Moody expect an ice, expect a timeout coming. But this is in a game that's otherwise been a blowout. It's been pretty entertaining seeing Cade McNamara air it out here. And now Jake Moody attempts.
This is a
tall task here.
A 60-yard attempt, Owen. His career long is 52. 3 seconds to play. First half. Jake Moody's been here for 5 seasons now. Brad Robbins will hold. William Wagner will snap. Jake Moody from nearby Northville, Michigan from 60 yards. The kick up away. It is well short. Victor Rosa will return it from the north end zone. He's out to the 5 to the 10. Makes a nice cut to the 15-20. He's got some space. 25 pushed out of bounds by the Michigan right tackle, Trente Jones. I'll tell you what, Jake Moody gave it a drive, but it came up well short. Michigan takes it into the half, leading 38-0 over UConn. Owen, before I hand it over to Owen Crain to do a bit of a halftime report with both Owen and Matthew, how was your first time?
First time was excellent. I had a great time, saw some great football here. Glad the fans cheered Cade McNamara on. I mean, it's really nothing better. The Big House on a Saturday afternoon.
We're going to hand it to Owen Crain. Let's get into the halftime report before we hand it over officially to Matthew and Owen. Michigan takes a 38-0 lead into halftime. Now, Owen, I know you were kind of engineering for us in that first half. You put up that beautiful scorebook that we have on our screen that you guys are watching. It's an excellent addition to our broadcast, but Owen, I want your initial reaction to the first half. Who looked good for Michigan? Who would you like to see more of in the second half?
Well, one, Zach, it's great to be back. Fantastic call, by the way, as always. And in the first half, it was good to see JJ slowly come into his own. You know, he did take 2 sacks, which we don't love to see, specifically against the UConn line here. But Michigan up 38-0. I don't think you can ask for anything more out of this program if you're Jim Harbaugh at the moment. They really came out with a strong performance, and then it was great to see Cade get that standing ovation when he took the field this week. After, frankly, just words can't describe what I felt last week towards the Michigan student section.
Disappointing.
It was incredibly disappointing. So it was fantastic to see him come back out and, frankly, complete that great pass after taking the sack.
I mean, what a catch, too, by Ronnie Bell. Now let's go to the rushing side of things. Blake Corum has 4 touchdowns. And although primarily from short yardage, 3 scampers of just 1 yard, he has 9 attempts, 47 yards, 4 touchdowns, and his longest run was 20. And that was on the first drive of the game where Michigan was able to take a 7-0 lead. But Blake Corum has 4 scores. A lot of that credit will go to number 2, but they're not going to talk enough about the big guys up front.
Absolutely. I think, especially given that coming into the game, you know, UConn's not one of the best programs out there, but we heard a lot about watch on both sides as they're good at blocking the rush and they're good at rushing. And we've kind of seen their defense collapse after Michigan's offensive line has just moved them out of the way. They've done a fantastic job just stifling the block from UConn. I don't think Jim Harbaugh or any of Michigan's Maize and Blue faithful could ask for any better than that.
It seems like they're starting to get a little bit better pursuit on the defensive end, has UConn. But Michigan's offensive front has done a stellar job today, but Michigan has also had to deal with a number of injuries. Trevor Keegan went to the tent. His day should be done. No Donovan Edwards today for Michigan. But we also assume J.J. McCarthy's day is done. His final stat line this afternoon, 10 of 13, 172 yards, no scores, no picks, but he was efficient getting the job done today.
Absolutely efficient. I think one of the most important things to remember about this game specifically is that Michigan has time. Maryland expected to be better than last year, but They've got today, they've got the next week, and frankly, they probably have the Maryland game to keep working through their issues. They've got the time to put it together. So it's great to see McCarthy efficient right now, because over the next few weeks, I think he can develop even further now that he's solidified himself as Michigan's starting quarterback.
Now, if we wouldn't mind passing it over to Matthew real quick, I got to do a halftime report with Matthew Levy. It's a 38-0 lead for Michigan, as we'll bring Matthew into the broadcast now to do his portion of the halftime report. I gave the offense to Owen. I hope you like talking about defense. Michigan's starting defense still has not allowed a point all season long. The reserves, the backups that are getting important time for Michigan throughout these first 3 weeks have been nothing but excellent. But who did you see that stood out to you in that first half on the defensive end for Michigan?
I thought unbelievable was Junior Colson.
Yeah.
At middle linebacker. I thought he was unbelievable in that first half. And I just saw this team. There's a lot of depth. And people are wondering, how do you replace a Hutchinson and Ojabo? And that's the age-old question. But I think this team has more depth than it has in years past with all those type of players. Oki getting that sack late in that first half. Junior Colson, you have Rod Moore in the back. So I think this team, defensively, it might not have the top-end talent, but I think depth-wise, it's in a really good place.
The defensive backs have done a tremendous job today, especially DJ Turner in the second quarter. I look back to Jamon Green in the first. Now, a couple of plays that I've seen from UConn, they're trying to utilize the screen passes. They know Michigan's pursuit of the quarterback is excellent, but the screen passes, boy, the linebackers, Mike Sainris still off the edge has been great. But on those screens especially, there is one defender that's flying loose, it seems like, on every single play. Michigan has been awesome in defending the screen.
I think that was part of the game plan coming in, discipline. How do you figure out, Jesse Minter teaching this, how do you figure out where the ball is going to go? Because they use a lot of misdirection. We can see that. They like to run the football with Carter, but I think Michigan's done a really good job. You've seen Sanders fly everywhere. He's had a great first half, and it's great to see that. But I just think the discipline, the eyes of these linebackers, these defensive backs, has been very impressive to watch.
Also, not talked about enough throughout the first 3 weeks of the season is Michigan's special teams unit. The special teams have gotten home today. One blocked punt from Caden Colasar, and then the return. I mean, I looked behind me, and you were standing there. We just mouthed wow to each other on the return from AJ. The special teams unit and Jay Harbaugh showing up today against UConn.
I think they've shown up, throughout these first 3 weeks. Obviously
it's
today
was showing.
Yes, this showing, this first, really like the block punt, and you saw that punt return. And I think it's just very impressive. I knew coming into the season, you have Jake Moody, you had Robbins as a punter, these two veterans. But this special teams unit, man, I think it's very impressive. We saw the showing today, but I expect this to continue all season long.
And how about the gutsy call from Jim Harbaugh to send Jake Moody out there to attempt a career-long 61-yard field goal? Now, it came up well short, but we kind of looked over and peered at you in the other booth, and we're like, really? This is what they're going to do right now.
Well, I guess it's the kind of going off the Broncos-Seahawks little ending with Brandon McManus trying to go for a 64-yarder. But I think that's just all in fun. They're up 38-0 at this point.
Michigan outgaining Connecticut 249-64. It's been a bit of deja vu. The Colorado State and Hawaii games, it's pretty much looked the same against this independent team in UConn. Besides just individual players, what's been the key for Michigan's success in that first half, do you think?
Well, I think one thing I loved from this Michigan team is when they got the ball on that second drive and there was first down and 10 inside the red zone, they ran the football and they went back to that power running game. And with all the shiny new toys, with J.J. McCarthy, with Ronnie Bell coming back, you want to just spread it out, right? Well, Michigan, they still have that offensive line that they can lean on. They can still run the ball in between the tackles. They ran it 3 straight times with Blake Corum, who was unbelievable. And I was very impressed with the way they controlled the ball a little bit and use that power running game. I thought that was awesome because if they can combine the speed with the power, that makes this offense even more dangerous to defend against.
Michigan dominant through one half of play from the Big House in Ann Arbor. 1 week before Big Ten play kicks off against Maryland. It's a tough opponent next week, but the Wolverines are also 9.5 points away from that dangerous spread of 47.5. 38-0 lead, about 12.5 minutes before we resume play from the Big House in Ann Arbor. I'll turn it over to Matthew Levy and Owen Crain for the second half of play. Good luck, guys, and have fun. Go Blue.
Thank you. And we'll pick up things here with 12 minutes to go. What a great first half it was. Thank you, Zach Linfield and Owen Klein. Owen's first ever Michigan football game he called, so very impressed with him. He was awesome. So now let's move in. Owen, Crain, if you can find me. We're trying to navigate things here. But in this first half, Michigan, all domination, up 38-0. I mean, they were running it, they were throwing it, and it was pretty impressive to watch.
I have to say that frankly, the offense is just all around robust. They look good. They're getting things done here. So as we transition into our halftime show, Michigan marching band in the background performing their halftime report. I think it's worth noting Connecticut's 0 points so far. So it's not only Michigan's offense that's been successful, but the defense has held up. Of course, Connecticut, UConn, they don't have too much of an offense, but they have the run. And so far, it has not been successful against Michigan.
Well, I think the number one thing with UConn, as we saw in that first half, is they like to change the eyes of the linebackers and the defensive backs and the defensive linemen. They did that, right? I was fooled. I was watching the game over on our right, and I was fooled of where the ball is. Is it with the quarterback and Zion Turner, or is it with the running back and Nathan Carter? I didn't know where the ball was. But I thought it was an excellent job. Junior Colson, unbelievable in reading the eyes, reading where the football is, and pursuing the football. Michigan was obviously prepared for that, and I thought Jesse Minter had a very good first half, kind of figuring out teaching these linebackers, okay, the ball's could go here or go here. You got to read the eyes, and you got to watch the football. I think it's been very impressive to watch.
I fully agree with you. I think Michigan defensively, they did a fantastic job. You can't really ask for more than that. If you're a fan of the Wolverines, if you're Jim Harbaugh, they're coming together as a cohesive unit, and it's early in the season, so that is what we like to see. They're doing things right, and it's not the best teams yet, but getting it done against the bad teams means that they're prepping to get it done against the good teams that we see beginning with Big Ten play next week.
Yeah, no, I think this is just everything's building up, right? Each week you can see the defense improving, the offense improving, everyone getting more comfortable with each other. And I think it's going to lead up to the next couple of weeks where we actually get to see them in Big Ten play. So it'll be very interesting to see the second half. We get to see all these different rotation players. And as Zach and I just talked about, I thought it was very impressive. I wanted to get your view on this. On the defensive side, these depth guys, right? Oki coming over from Alabama, former 5-star recruit. You have the Jalen Harrell guys, but you have Braden McGregor as an edge rusher. You have Mike Moore. All these different guys on the defensive line rushing the passer has been very impressive.
I fully agree. We've seen UConn's pocket just collapse at times. They really haven't had these opportunities because of all this pressure coming from the D-line. And like you said, on the edges, they're really doing a good job just penetrating that defensive blocking that UConn's been putting up. So like you said, all-around success for the Wolverines in the first half, in my book.
Yes, 100% agree, especially defensively holding them to 0 points. I wanted to switch over to the offensive side of the football as we are closing in on the start of the second half. It was a very interesting offensive start, I thought, because they weren't crisp, they weren't perfect, per se, but I thought in some of those situations, those third downs, where I wanted to see J.J. McCarthy shine a bit, he's made some pretty good throws, even though they didn't convert some of those.
Yeah, I think that the Mason Blue faithful hold J.J. McCarthy. They revere J.J. McCarthy. They hold him in a very high position. So while some of his playmaking might not have met those standards, I think at least from my viewpoint, I still saw Michigan's QB1 performing well under the pressure that he did have. He took those 2 sacks. Those are tough to see, and that's definitely going to be a spot he'll have to improve on as we look forward towards Big Ten play. But for now, I'm quite pleased with how J.J. McCarthy performed.
Yeah, no. I think it's part of his development, right? This is where you get the real game reps, third downs. That's what I'm looking for as a Michigan fan. 3rd down and 7, 3rd down and 4. How do you kind of figure it out, right? It's not going to be 2nd and 1 always, right? It's not going to be 1st and 10. How do you figure it out on 3rd and 4 with your QB1? And I thought he had some times that one throw towards here on the red zone, I think on the 3rd drive where they made it 17-0. He was looking for Roman Wilson and a good job by the UConn defender to break it up. But that's the type of things where you can see him extending plays, right? You can see him going outside the pocket. That's something Cade McNamara didn't do. Everything was on script for Cade. J.J. McCarthy's going to work off script, and that's going to be different. It might be tough, but I think it's going to ultimately help if he continues getting these reps. I can't wait to see his development on those 3rd downs. That's what I'm really looking forward to. I want to see, as we mentioned in our pregame, I want to see how J.J. McCarthy does when he's kind of rattled a bit, when he has to face adversity, when he has to be disciplined. On a second down and 10, he's got to throw the ball away instead of throwing a pick. On a third down and 4, instead of forcing the ball into double coverage, throw the ball away, take the points. Those type of things that Cade McNamara was very good at and is very good at, I want to see from J.J. McCarthy, because we know he's got the talent. We know he has the athleticism. How does he fare in those boring situations? That's going to be the key for me.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Cade had nailed down the routineness of football, the mundanity that's in it. It's an interesting sport, but there are these mundane moments, and Cade was great in those sorts of situations. Like you said, he could read the field real well, and while he didn't necessarily react as well as McCarthy, I would say that Cade sometimes gets sacked when McCarthy converts for a first down, under pressure. Yeah, you just want to see McCarthy grow into that person who's got his head on a swivel. He can see the whole field at any moment, and I know that's a lot to ask so early on in the season. So for me, it's great to see him developing, but again, the Wolverines were 1 for 4 on third downs in that first half. That needs to go up as we can progress through the season.
Well, yeah, if we break down a couple of those, I think the first one, it was a read option called by Sharon Moore and Matt Weiss, the co-offensive coordinators for Michigan, and it just didn't work, right? UConn defender penetrated it. Of course, we just talked about that play on the right side in that red zone. But that was off of actually that second down play, which we didn't talk about. A fantastic throw from J.J. McCarthy in the left corner across his body. We were talking about it right off air when Ronnie Bell, he could have made, I don't know if we didn't see if he made the catch.
You wanted a replay on that.
I wanted a replay. We didn't see it. It must have been incomplete, but it was close. It was a really good throw right in the breadbasket. Look, you're not going to get as many opportunities, which is why I'm kind of a critic for the soft schedule for Michigan, but you see glimpses. You see the flashes, and you see why Jim Harbaugh wants him as QB1.
Absolutely. And if you want to shift into that schedule talk, I agree with you on it. I just don't think that this is a necessary game. It's great to see them developing, but let's take this 38-0 and let's make it like 21-7 against a decent program. It's,
I mean, last year I thought it was great because when Michigan had to play Washington in week 2, there was a lot of questions, right? We were coming off a 2-4 season. They won week 1. Big win week 1.
Western Michigan wasn't that good of a program.
No, but it was kind of like, okay, let's see what you got. Let's see what this team is.
Absolutely.
And they showed up, and Hutch was unbelievable in that week 2 game, that win over Washington. We didn't see that this year, so you're going to be flipped on a switch, right? Next week, I know it's just Maryland, but that's a significant uptake in competition. Michigan hasn't faced a D1 team yet. They faced Colorado State, which is probably the best out of the 3 if you were breaking it down.
That'd be my guess, yeah.
Yeah, and the line shows that too. But UConn and Hawaii are exhibition games, and it's unfortunate. But I think at the end of the day, as we mentioned in the pregame, it keeps you fresh, I think, down the line, because you're not going to have to play as many guys now, because we'll see the second stringers, third stringers kind of get a feel. And it allows guys that usually don't play to get some playing time, get a feel for being in the big house, get a feel for playing in a real game. I think that's important. I just don't know if I would have done all 3 games. I think you schedule 2 cupcakes and give me one good one.
I hear you, because I think that Washington game last year set the tone for the season in numerous ways. One, the fan energy finally returned to the big house. After a year gone, that night they did the Maze Out theme. That was a fantastic way to get the fans back involved in the game. And on Washington's first snap, of course, they false start. That was it. The delay.
I think the delay. It was a false start and then a delay game, one or the other.
They couldn't hear. And essentially, I think that was what set the tone for the season, because the Washington game, there were uncertainties. I remember all week leading up to the game, there's the question of Michigan just came off of a strong win against Western Michigan. They looked decent, but Ronnie Bell was injured. We didn't know where the program was heading. And Washington really allowed them to show that they were going to be a competitor that year. They were going to compete for a Big Ten title in the college football playoff, and they did. And I think we've lost that this year with 3 cupcakes.
But I will say, kind of disagreeing with your point, this team is much more similar to last year than 2020 was to 2021. Like 2021 to 2022 this year, similar makeup of the team. I know you lose Hutch, I know you lose Ojabo, but besides that, I guess, and Haskins, right? Those 3. Cade's still here, but I think the receivers, the tight ends, the offensive line, pretty much similar, right? You have some of the same leaders in the clubhouse, which I think is big, and they've seen success before. So I don't know per se how much that would have helped, but I would say against real competition, like Ohio State, they played Notre Dame. It was ugly, but they learned from it, right? They figured themselves out in the second half, and that was a big stepping stone to next week where they beat Arkansas State.
Of course, Notre Dame then the next week
then they lose.
They didn't look like the world's best opponent.
It doesn't matter who you play. Just give me like a D1 opponent, even if it's like let's just give them a game, I feel like. And it's going to be really interesting next week because we're going to come in here, and Michigan's going to be big favorites. It's going to be at home. The crowd's going to be rocking. But we don't know. We don't know how they will fare against a very good team. They've played 3 soft games, and then next week will be a huge test. So I think it goes both ways. Of course, I think one game, just give me one against a very good team in the non-conference helps you going forward. But I think this team, they're very similar to last year, and I think all those young guys that Junior Colson on the offensive side with Blake Corum, with Cornelius Johnson, with all these guys, the offensive line, they're getting more experience. So they were there last year. I feel like it's less of an issue this year. I would have been more concerned if Michigan had 3 cupcake games last year compared to this year, if that makes sense.
I hear what you're saying. I think, Matthew, we're on the same page overall. Frankly, I'll reframe it to especially after the season they had last year. Returning so many players with so few questions. I mean, filling in for Hutch, they're doing a decent job. There really aren't questions that need to be answered, so I'd be happy to see them getting into tough games. We've got about 20 seconds until we return to play here for the second half. What are you looking for from the Wolverines?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a very interesting second half in terms of which backups kind of assert themselves. Michigan's backups kind of struggled against Hawaii a little bit. They let up a couple touchdowns. I expect this team to be much more focused in the second half, especially those backups, those second, third string guys. But I'm really looking forward to this pass rush. Can we see an Oki kind of shine, that 5-star recruit from Bama, as we were talking about earlier? Can we see a Braden McGregor, as we were mentioning? Could we see these different type of guys, a Kenneth Grant in the middle, a George Rooks off the defensive end slot, Derek Moore, a freshman? So these guys that we're going to mention in the second half, I think are very important now in helping and contributing as rotational pieces, but also future, right? The future of this Michigan program. I know it's week 3, I know, but this front 7, they've got a lot of pieces that I'm very excited to see. So we're just about ready to kick it off. Jake Moody will send it deep, and another butter. This has happened 3 times, Owen, where the ball has not stayed on the 35-yard line on the placeholder. I think they call it.
I know, it's not a windy day.
I don't get it. It's not windy up here, but they'll have someone hold it for Jake Moody, who just coming off that miss of a 61-yarder.
Oh, if he made that, this place would have been rocking.
Yeah, I mean, it was close. It was just not enough leg. But he'll send it deep, and we are underway in this second half. Michigan and UConn. Owen Crain, Matthew Levy, we're ready to go to start the second half. Michigan leads 38-0, and here comes UConn. Interesting to see because we saw in that actually first half, UConn played 2 quarterbacks.
Yes, they actually switched between the two, in and out. I was struggling to keep track. I was also actually being our audio engineer in the first half, so I might have missed a few things. But frankly, didn't see too much of a difference between the two of them. UConn still struggled offensively, no matter who was at the helm.
Well, Zion Turner, he was the starter. He's in now. He provided more of those legs running the football a little bit, which kind of killed Michigan. He drove it up a little bit at the end of the first half. We'll see if they continue with that. So it's Turner in the shotgun here on a 1st down and 10. He'll keep it. DJ Turner going left side. Good move made by Zion Turner, up into the 40 to the 43. Just getting my feet settled in here. And a good run for a 1st down from Zion Turner. As I just mentioned, those legs moving.
Hey, that was quite the run for a 1st down. A hot start for UConn. They faked the handoff. He went to the far side, left. And frankly, it looked like he fooled Michigan a little bit. He had quite the gap. Gain of probably 14.
Yeah, 3 men in the backfield in a pistol formation for Turner. Behind him is Victor Rosa, the grad student. Here is Rosa going right. He's moving inside the 50, up inside Michigan territory to the 49.
So they'll toss it off to Rosa.
So Rosa, I mean, he wasn't actually on the depth chart as we were looking it up this morning and over this past week. We were expecting Nathan Carter to get the majority of the carries. He's had over 200-yard games for UConn, and he played pretty well against Syracuse in that loss too, but they've opted to go with more of a running back by committee approach today. Rosa's still in the backfield in a shotgun. They'll give it to him. Rosa dashing left. Good tackle made by Chris Jenkins. Up to the 48, probably got a yard. So now we'll bring up about a 3rd and 2 for the...
Sorry about that. Third and 2 looks like they'll officially declare it as 3rd and 1 for UConn. So a decent running game from them here, and this is really where we see the Michigan defense, or really where it comes down to the Michigan defense. On the 3rd and 1, can you hold a team like UConn, who has a decent run, but they're not a Big Ten running game, right? So this is really the testing point for the Wolverines in a game like this.
Coaches love this. In the trenches, who wins the battle? Robert Burns actually coming in for UConn. They'll give it to him. Nope, we've got a flag, so that play stops. Probably going to be a false start. Yes, it is. So it'll be a false start against UConn.
Offense, number 67. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So UConn will move back to about the 45-44. We'll set up a 3rd down and about 6.
Now, it didn't look like they got it on that 3rd and 1 anyways.
I think they jumped a little bit. We couldn't really see, but Michigan's push in the middle. I mean, you see big number 58, Mozzie Smith. He's had it.
The Wolverines, they clumped together. They did a good job on the block.
So Rosa comes back in, a pistol formation with him in the backfield. Turner takes the snap. They'll give it to Rosa. Rosa cuts back. He's got a 1st down, tackled by Rod Moore, but not until he gets up to about the 46-yard line of Michigan. 1st down.
So UConn moves into Michigan territory on Rosa's back. Nice run from him there, split in the defense.
Yeah, that was a very good run. And again, running back by committee. We've seen it early. It's been Burns and Rosa, so no Nathan Carter, which is kind of surprising, or no Devontae Houston, who scored his first ever touchdown against Syracuse last week for UConn. So very interesting start. 1st down and 10 from the 46. They'll give it to Rosa again, and Rosa dashing inside the 45 to about the 41. Tackle made by Junior Colson.
So I'll have a gain of 5 there. The Wolverines looked like they were hustling to get ready right as the ball was snapped. They weren't quite in formation yet. Might have factored into the gain of 5 there for UConn. And Rosa showing himself as a force here to start off the second half.
Yeah, this offensive line actually of UConn to come out of this for this second half, they've kind of pushed Michigan around a little bit. So I'm curious to see how the Michigan defensive line can respond. So here we go. 2nd down from the 41-yard line. They'll do a little trick plays. That one's tossed behind the hands of the receiver coming across. So that did not work. That was Dejon Harrison. He returns punts usually. They try to do an end around across on that left side, but a miscommunication. If he caught that ball, though, if that toss was good from Rosa coming off the right, moving back on the left, that might have been a big gain.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, frankly, the Wolverines kind of caught a break here. They moved from 2nd and 5 to 3rd and 15. And it looked like UConn might have even been able to convert if that had worked. Wolverines only gave up 5 first downs in the first half.
Shooting themselves in the foot. That's what UConn's doing. Here's a 3rd down and 15 from the 49. Turner back to throw. He's got time. He's going deep on the left side. Incomplete. Good coverage from DJ Turner.
Great coverage there. Great throw, too. My credit to them.
But it was a little short. Good D from DJ Turner. He's another guy that's been unbelievable last year coming on. There were questions coming into last year about who can emerge from this pass defense. DJ Turner did a really nice job.
Absolutely, and he's been showing himself essentially the start of this season, the first 3 games. He's had himself multiple fantastic blocks.
So UConn will punt it away. The punter is George Carrington. Carrington, another almost block punt. Good job again from this Michigan special teams unit, as that one is rolling on the right side and will be downed at about the 17-yard line. Let's see this Michigan offense. Who is the quarterback is the question, after Kate McNamara came in, gave actually Michigan a chance to kick a 61-yard field goal that Jake Moody eventually just came up a little bit short on. That Cade McNamara, when he was coming to the sideline, looked a little bit shaken up there.
He did. We hard to looking for him on the field. We'll have a media timeout, so trying to see who's getting ready out there. I can't see just yet. Cade did look a little shaken up. I'd like to see more of him here in the second half because I think after last game, after taking that sack, he already took a sack today. It's really an opportunity now without the pressure of the QB competition for Cade to fall into place for himself.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this dynamic continues to evolve over the course of the year, because you have one guy in J.J. McCarthy who's that shiny new toy who every Michigan fan wants. And then you have Cade McNamara, who's been there, done it before, beat Ohio State, all the accolades, won a Big Ten championship. And after the response he got from the crowd last week, which was very disappointing, to get that standing ovation today, I thought was very special. I
think that's very meaningful. And it was important to see the student section especially paying its respects because, I'm a sophomore. I come in last year, Michigan wins a Big Ten championship. There are a lot of people in that student section, half of them, who, as Michigan Wolverines, only know success. There were years of those dark ages before Cade McNamara, Aiden Hutchinson, the crew really took this team to new places.
Yeah, and he was the guy that transformed this team. He was the guy. You remember back to that 2-4 season during the COVID season, he came in against Rutgers and he led them to a double overtime victory. I get it's Rutgers, but that team was not good. And Cade McNamara rallied them around and said, let's go fight, right? And he's done that. He did it last year. He was unbelievable. He led us to beat Ohio State for the first time in forever. They won a Big Ten championship for the first time in forever. And to treat that guy with the booze was very disappointing, as was mentioned throughout this broadcast. So that's why it's kind of surreal for me as a junior now. Mm-hmm. When you've seen this guy for 2 years lead your program, yes, he has limitations, right, with his athleticism, moving outside the pocket, but he still was the guy, and he's still QB1 for 2 years.
Not only he poured blood, sweat, and tears into this program. I remember last summer, I was just graduated high school. I was pumped to get here. I was following Michigan closely, and everyone at Big Ten Media Days was talking about how the culture on this team had changed. Cade was a big part of that. Everyone was asking whether or not it was true, and really, you just saw the shift. Harbaugh, Cade, Hutchinson, across the board. This is a refreshed team compared to 2020, and it's great to see them pulling that momentum into the start of the 2022 season.
We have an update. So the quarterback to start for the Wolverines is J.J. McCarthy, so we get to see one more drive, or maybe even one more play. We'll see how long he stays in for, but this will be, of course, fun for every Michigan fan because we all love watching J.J. So here we go. 1st down and 10 from their own 15. McCarthy will give it to Corum on that right side, running right. He gets to about the 19, about a gain of about 2 or 3.
Not a surprise choice to hand off to Corum. He's had 9 handoffs for 47 yards today, leading the team by a lot. Second in rushing at the moment is McCarthy himself with 7 yards. And, of course, Corum has the 4 touchdowns for the Wolverines so far.
So we'll see the first unit right now, which will be fun for all of us, but we will get to see some of that second unit and third unit guys. And one guy we wanted to circle is C.J. Stokes, as McCarthy will give it off to Corum. Corum's got space. Blake Corum inside the 25 up into the 30. Good run from Blake Corum. But again, we're going to see some different guys. And I think one guy we both circled is C.J. Stokes, the freshman.
Absolutely. Again, we've been talking all broadcast, and Owen and Zach were talking about this too. This really is an opportunity to get those reps in and start to build your team play. So to get those second stringers in, people like C.J. Stokes, give them an opportunity. We're very excited to see how they play.
So Michigan in a 1 tight end set, 3 wide receivers. To the left of J.J. McCarthy is C.J. Stokes. They'll motion over Wilson, and they'll give it off to Stokes. Stokes running right, and not a lot of places to go, as he only got a yard. Good defense from UConn, and we also emphasize coming in, this UConn defense, their strength is against the run.
Absolutely. So it's good to see Michigan playing to UConn's strengths. That's really, again, we've been debating these cupcake games. It's good to see Michigan at least focusing on where UConn is strongest so that they can get those reps in. So that's Stokes' 4th attempt of the game. Right now he only has 7 rushing yards, but again, we'd like to see him blossom here in the second half.
Same formation. They'll put Stokes to the right of McCarthy in the shotgun.
2nd down and about 9. McCarthy back to throw. McCarthy looks over the middle, and he's got all for about a 3 or 4 yard gain up into about the 35, so it'll bring up a 3rd down and 5 as Corum will check in for C.J. Stokes.
The Stokes exit after 1 attempt. Corum back in. Quick game for the Wolverines, but still 3rd and 5, looking to convert. And again, they'll throw after the rush. Didn't work out too well. Wouldn't be surprised to see them throw here, looking for the 5 yards for a 1st down.
Again, these are the situations we wanted to highlight. 3rd down and 5 for J.J. McCarthy. Corum to the right in the shotgun once again. 1 tight end set, 3 wide receivers, 2 on the near side, 1 on the far side. McCarthy rolling out. He's got a man. It's Ronnie Bell. And Ronnie Bell is close to the mark. He kind of fell backwards, but they'll give him forward progress and move those chains for a Michigan Wolverine 1st down.
Just barely got a toe past the front chain. Wolverines move them up and convert for what I believe is their 13th 1st down of the game.
But that's so easy, right? Easy for J.J. McCarthy. Rolling him right, allowing him to see one side of the field. Very easy throw, open receiver. Those are the type of plays that really Matt Rice and Sharon Moore, the co-offensive coordinators, want to draw up for J.J. McCarthy.
I think that this is the difference maker between McCarthy and Cade. Cade gets the small plays done well. J.J. gets them done efficiently. He'll get it done, and he'll get it ddone fast.
Here is McCarthy. He'll look to the left side. A screen to Roman Wilson again. Roman Wilson inside the 50, up to about the 43-yard line for a 1st down for the Wolverines again. Roman Wilson's screen game, a big part of the 1st half, a big part of the first 3 games, and now a big part of the 2nd half, too.
Matthew, he uses his speed to his advantage, cutting to the near side, right along the line, just sprinting as far as he can before the UConn defenders finally caught him at the angle.
As the wave goes around the stadium, 1st down and 10 inside Husky territory at about the 43. Student section halfway
not
back
looking
now.
so good right now.
As that, they'll give it off to Henning on a reverse, and A.J. Henning moving upfield into about the 39 for a good gain of about 4 or 5.
Looks like they'll give him 4, move to 2nd and 6 on the play. He found some space there, by credit to him. Again, the Wolverines playing to UConn's advantages, and UConn still struggling against this rush.
Yeah, but I think the cool thing that we've seen from this Michigan rushing attack, it's not just straight up the middle. They could do that, as we saw in the red zone a couple times, but they can also go side to side, use those gadget players like an A.J. Henning, like a Roman Wilson. And those screen plays really are also beneficiary run plays as well, as C.J. Stokes gets a 1st down for the Wolverines.
So Stokes goes up the middle there to secure the 1st down, something the Wolverines do very well. But like you said, that horizontal movement is a big factor in Michigan's run game. The run game was huge last year, so I think with McCarthy, you kind of have the ultimate weapon in that the Wolverines have a fantastic rush right now. It's getting even better each game. And with JJ, we should see the arm grow and the pass game grow for the Wolverines.
We have an injured UConn Husky on the field here on this 3rd down and 1. I thought he got to the 1st down, so they'll just be a yard short at around the 33-yard, 34. They need to get to the 33 of UConn. But again, this first drive, I think they just wanted to see maybe a couple drives from JJ. But again, very efficient in the way that they could go to the screen game, they can go outside, they can also run the football inside, and they can also, if they wanted to, they can go deep as well. So I think the difference, as I think we'll get to in the 2nd half, is the difference in this offense is that it's much more multiple. There's a lot more flexibility. There's a lot more variability for Sharon Moore and Matt Weiss to go to, really.
I agree. Frankly, looking at their success last year, to say that they have more flexibility this year, when they finished the season ranked at number 2, they fell to Georgia, so we'll call them number 3. It opens up a lot of doors for the Wolverines. So I think the fans are excited to see McCarthy take that starter spot. Let me ask you, was there ever any doubt in your mind that McCarthy would take the spot?
Well, I think once they gave it to the 2-game really competition, I thought maybe one side of my mind was like, because we heard, let's take you back 3 weeks ago, there were rumblings that Cade McNamara won this quarterback competition by a mile.
Yes.
And it was his job. So all I thought was Jim Harbaugh is saying to the fans, look how much better he is. Let me show you. But at the end of the day, I guess all those reports were wrong, or there was some disconnect there, because JJ was easily, from the fans' perspective, right? We're not in the practices. From the fans' perspective, he was the better quarterback.
It's the tough thing is that when it came down to it, even if Cade was performing the way we were looking for him to in camp, in front of the crowd of 100,000, 110,000 in the big house, JJ absolutely came out on top.
Yeah, 100%. But it goes to show, because like we can get into this QB competition, and who won it, who was better on the field, but I think at the end of the day, it probably shows more in practice than in the game, especially against these teams, because in practice you're playing a very good defense, a Michigan defense. You're not playing a UConn defense or Colorado State or Hawaii. So that was where my confusion was. But I guess at the end of the day, I don't know your opinion on this, Owen. Was that due to the injury of JJ coming into camp?
Yeah, I know, because that's the question. Like you said, with the defense, against these worst defenses, we see Cade seriously struggle. I mean, he got sacked the moment he came into that game. That was what led to the boos last week, which, again, not deserved, but he couldn't hold up against the Rainbow Warriors defense. How's he going to hold up against Maryland's defense, Iowa's defense, Ohio State's defense?
Yeah, but I also think, hold up, I thought the offensive line actually, when I rewatched the Hawaii game, they kind of struggled when Cade came into the game. Maybe that's a product of them being tired. Who knows? But I also think with a bad offensive line rep, right? If you have an athletic quarterback, as we've seen in the NFL, as we've seen from guys like when Jim Harbaugh had Colin Kaepernick, right? You can easily avoid that with a running quarterback. But with a Cade McNamara, the whole play is dead.
Yeah, I think that's really what happens. JJ just has more options.
3rd down and 1. They'll give it to a new ball carrier. That is Isaiah Gash, and he gashes through the middle for a 1st down for the Wolverines. He looked fast there going through the hole.
He did. He flew. UConn didn't even have an opportunity to close the gap.
So again, 4 running backs. Other guys we can see. We can see C.J. Stokes. We can also see Tavir Dunlap, number 22, and that was number 41. That was Isaiah Gash. But for now, we'll stick to Blake Corum as he's back in the game. In the shotgun formation, 3 wide receivers, set 1 tight end. McCarthy in the shotgun. Corum to his left. The motion over Bell on the right. McCarthy, play action. He looks right. He's got a man. It's Ronnie Bell inside the 15 to about the 11. 1st down, Wolverines.
Now, McCarthy had Ronnie Bell wide open. His pass was a little short. Credit to Ronnie Bell and the lack of pressure on him. He was able to come forward, fall forward to make the catch. Now, if that ball had been thrown a little bit more forward, Bell might have had the room to run in and perhaps rush towards the end zone.
Yeah, well, it was a zone coverage, so you had one of the UConn defenders just in front, went actually right over his helmet, so lucky to be caught there. So now 1st down and 10. 1st down and 10 from the 11. McCarthy will give it to Corum. Corum dashing right, cuts back into the end zone for a Wolverine touchdown. It's Blake Corum's 5th of the game, and the Wolverines lead 44-0.
There's not much to say. Like you said, he cuts left and cuts back in. Corum sees the field so well. He's all reliable for the Wolverines, and he'll, if he stays in, drive up this score.
Moody to attempt the extra point.
So the Wolverines, go right down the field. And Blake Corum, why not add another one? For the fun of it. An 11-yard score, his 5th today, and Jake Moody will attempt the extra point. Snap is good, kick is good. So Michigan leading 45-0. Another impressive drive from the Wolverines. You get to see the screen pass, you get to see the running game, you get to see A.J. Henning side to side, C.J. Stokes, you get to see Isaiah Gash. You get to see all these guys, but at the end, it's same old reliable Blake Corum running 11 yards in the end zone.
Yeah, the Wolverines try a lot, and it's great to see them get some people going, get some starters in there. But in the end, Corum gets it done. And if I'm calling Corum old reliable, I'm also calling Jake Money Moody old reliable.
And it's funny because we call Blake Corum old reliable, but last year he was the fun change of pace back, but now he's old reliable. So everything changes, I guess. But again, great drive. I think that's it, I would guess, from J.J. McCarthy. I guess maybe we get to see the dog again, wanting to stop this.
We had a dog come on the field in the first half.
That
They
was-
might have mentioned it.
Linfield was providing play-by-play.
I mean,
so.
it was awesome to watch. We get to see it again. A guy basically throws the Frisbee. This dog runs down the field as he makes the catch from the 35. They're starting from the end zone on the left end zone towards the student section at about the 0, right outside the end zone. And this dog is running 30, 40 yards downfield and catching this Frisbee. And the crowd is absolutely loving it. As that one, it goes to the 30, and a nice catch again from the dog. I guess we can go play-by-play with this.
This dog won. Don't get me wrong. I love the Michigan marching band, but these might be the loudest cheers I've heard all game, barring a touchdown.
And another one. That was inside the 35.
This dog's got some speed. I've only seen him miss one, and that was earlier in the first half.
Yeah, well, because I guess we blame the toss there. We don't blame the dog.
It was a bad toss.
It was a bad toss.
To the
He
near
didn't have
side.
enough time to get there.
Yeah.
And he'll run off the field. But again, Michigan, you saw one more rep of those first string guys, and you see J.J. McCarthy get to easily walk into the end zone throw. They're on 45-0. And again, the main theme we wanted to bring to you guys is moving forward, right? Everything about this second half, it's not about this game now. It's about moving forward. Who are the guys moving forward? And we've kind of seen it today. It's been fun.
It really has. Mr. Brightside, which, here's my question about Brightside. One of my favorite Big House traditions. How long has this tradition been around?
I don't think it's been around for long. I thought last year might have been the first year.
Was last year the first year?
I don't know. I'm not the right source for that, but I know it got popular last year.
It definitely got popularized. And just these media timeouts are an absolute killer. Well, we're taking the 3 minutes here, which, by the way, thanks for listening to Student Radio. Non-profit, student-run, no commercials here for you to have to deal with. And for those of you who don't make it here much, I would say you have to make it to a game. It's very fun to watch what happens, not only when the clock is running, but when it's not. My question for you is, Mr. Brightside or Pump It Up?
I'll go Brightside. 100%. I mean, there's actual words to the song.
Yes.
2, I love when the whole stadium sings. And 3, I can't get rid of the video out of my head of when we all rushed the field, right? And it was just a sea of blue, and they were just singing this song. That was the greatest thing in the world.
Few things will top that.
Even in a half-full student section, it still is great every single time. Hopefully, next week, people stay for the Mr. Brightside. I guess not, because we want Michigan to blow them out, or Michigan fans do. But if that game is close in the second half, you'll have some students stay and listen to Mr. Brightside.
Would you just? It's tough to see for those of you watching on television, and you can't see it if you're hearing us on the radio. But students are filing out now. A lot of people stay just for that moment. And for me, Brightside over Pump It Up any day.
I would have to agree, as Moody kicks it deep. It is into the end zone on the left side, left half near us. And into the end zone for a touchback. Michigan, in terms of yards, they lead in rushing 100 to 81. Passing, they have 232 yards compared to 12. Only 12 for Zion Turner and the UConn Huskies. So in total, they lead 332 yards to 93 yards.
Now, I think the rush, like we've been saying all game, Linfield was saying, we talked about in the pregame, that's where UConn is going to do well. But rushing, as you know, against good teams, like take Michigan versus Georgia in the college football playoff, rushing doesn't win you games. You need to have the ability to throw.
And it's all about who wins in the trenches. And I think with a much more talented team, much more talented defensive line, it's going to be tough for anyone with those skilled players on the offensive line to actually run the ball. As Zion Turner will take the snap. He'll look, and he'll get it to the running back, Robert Burns. And he's up inside the 30 to about the 31, tackled again by Junior Colson. That's a common theme. But again, we talked about this in the pregame too. UConn loves to use its running backs out of the backfield, get him some catches.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw them move out of the backfield on the far side, a quick gain there. Turner moved him out, but not before the running back could gain a few yards.
So checking in is Victor Rosa once again. They'll go I-strong left. 1 wide receiver, 3 tight end set. They'll run it up the middle. Rosa trying to find his way. Good tackle made by Mozzie Smith. He got about a yard or 2 up into about the 32. So it'll be about a 3rd down and about 3 for UConn.
Now, we'll see what UConn goes with here. My guess, as always, is that they'll go with the rush. It just hasn't worked out for them that well.
Rosa will stay in the game against strong running backs. This time they'll have 2 receivers in, both close to the line of scrimmage. Rosa runs. Good tackle made by the Wolverines defensive line. It's McCarthy Page for the Wolverines along with Jalen Harrell. So Michigan will force a 4th down, but it looks like UConn's offense will stay on the field.
Now, this is interesting here. Yeah, we had Michigan getting ready to receive a punt, and then they'll finally bring the special teams on. And
now they'll switch, so now UConn will punt it away. We weren't sure for a second, but now coming on for the Huskies to punt it away.
And we've seen a few decent rushes from Rosa, but there he just couldn't get the job done, again, against Michigan's strong defensive line.
And we've also seen a couple of good rushes from this Michigan punt return unit.
Yeah,
punt
absolutely.
blocking unit. So here's the punt straight away. No rush this time, and a short boot up into about the 30. And returning it that's DJ Turner back there, not A.J. Henning, as that is returned to about the 38, 39-yard line. And we'll see the Michigan offense once again. Quarterback, TBD.
Yeah, we'll see who they put in. And Turner didn't get too many yards there, but he was under pressure real quick. So decent return. Credit to him for not just calling for a fair catch.
So it looks like we are going to get a new quarterback in for the Michigan Wolverines. It'll be number 16, Davis Warren, a guy that we the 3rd-string quarterback for the Wolverines. So no Cade McNamara, I guess. We haven't seen him on the sideline either, so it could be in the tent or in the locker room, assuming locker room. As here is Davis Warren, the 3rd-string quarterback, looking to throw, and he finds his man over the middle. It is
Davis Warren's pass
caught.
to Colson Loveland.
Colson Loveland, another backup wide receiver for the Wolverines.
Well, Matthew, here's the fun of calling the second half of this game. A lot of names we won't recognize coming in.
Yeah, my studying's going to have to come into play here. Let's go. You're putting me to the test.
Now, Davis Warren, the 6'2 sophomore from L.A., first completion on his first attempt.
As that run is to C.J. Stokes on the right side. C.J. Stokes moving forward. He is about a couple yards short. He's up into about the 42-yard line. They need to get to the 44, so a 3rd down and about 2.
Wolverines, again, we'll see how they convert on the 3rd down. And back to Warren for a moment. He went 2 for 4 versus Hawaii, 65 yards versus Hawaii. So no interceptions there. We'll see how he performs now. And you have to feel a little bad for Cade getting injured. This was an opportunity for him without the pressure of the competition to really show what he could do.
He'll give it to Gash, who had the big run earlier in the second half, as Gash gets the 1st down up into about the 46. So they have Gash. They're going Stokes and Gash mostly at the running back position. And now Dunlap checks in, so we can expect to see all 3 of those guys in the second half as we keep you informed. The tight end right now, Max Bredesen, he hit the big catch actually from Davis Warren last week against Hawaii. A big catch in the second half of that game, so that will be an interesting connection to watch for.
Absolutely.
1st down and 10. They'll give it off to Stokes. Stokes got some room to run, and he's up into the 50 to about the 49.
Time is moving by here. 40 seconds remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
Just like that. I guess the second halves go faster when it's a blowout.
True. It is a blowout, and we're moving faster, but it feels like we just got on the mic.
And now this is interesting. So Mike Sandristil transitioned to defense, has been a stud on defense all day. Slot cornerback, comes off the blitz. Now he's in at wide receiver, a spot he was in last year. Let's see if he can get the football, as they'll keep it with a new quarterback. That's Orji moving in. He's got a yard or 2. Orji. And the crowd.
The student section loves.
So there's a background. There's a background of this. So RG3, Robert Griffin III, former Baylor quarterback, Washington Commander quarterback, he was calling week 1, and he made an interesting call of the game in the second half. He basically said there was an orgy in the end zone for when Orji scored the touchdown in the second half against Colorado State. So fans awfully saw it. They love it. And now he just entered and got a 1-yard gain. There's the context behind that.
If the fans were booing Cade McNamara last week, they were chanting orgy. So That'll be fun for the rest of the season here. Michigan Marching Band will turn to the Blues Brothers Can't Turn You Loose. Now, this tradition, Matthew, originated at Yost. They've brought it over to Michigan Stadium the past few years. I think it's a great way to mark the transition between the third and fourth quarter.
Well, you learn something new every day. I did not know that. So I guess this has come over from Yost. And I guess I thought this was always a staple of Michigan.
Okay, I should clarify. The dance itself that students do to this song originated with the children of Yost at hockey games. I can't speak to whether or not the band played the song.
I feel like if I was in the crowd right now, I'd have no idea what to do. It's been a year too long. I think once I get to the second or third game, then I start to figure out the dance moves. At this point, I don't think I have the dance moves down yet.
I don't know what to tell you. You're a junior, man. That's for freshmen to figure out. It's tough when you first get here, and there's all sorts of traditions, and you know some of them because you've cheered Michigan on. Some people know them all because they've been in the Big House for years. Some of them barely knew Michigan had a football team, if we're being frank. Some of the freshmen show up, but they're eager to get involved. So it takes a little bit of time to learn, but right now, from our vantage point, they've got the coordination pretty down.
I think it's just following along to the person next to you. If people look like they know what they're doing, it's pretty easy to follow along. I mean, you won't get it perfectly, but you'll practice. But this tradition, again, goes across all Michigan athletics, basketball, football, hockey. So it's always awesome to see. At the end of the third quarter, as it's the 3rd and 4, a couple more minutes left in this media timeout as Michigan leads 45-0. I mean, again, we've talked about it all game long. We've seen J.J. McCarthy thrive. We've seen him face some adversity that I'd like to see. And he's passed, but it hasn't been some of those third down plays where I'm concerned. Again, as we mentioned in the pregame, discipline, adversity, boring stuff. It wasn't his best showing, but I think that improves, right?
Yeah, I think JJ's earned the QB1 spot. There's less pressure on him, and he didn't have his best showing, but we have time. That's the thing. Now, I don't know if you want to keep talking about him or look forward in the season, but JJ has himself time. He's got time to develop. The early slate of games isn't that stressful. It's not that competitive. The ones that I think could trip the Wolverines up, Penn State can always pose a challenge. I don't think they're nearly as deadly as Michigan State. That team up north, you got to watch for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think looking not even there, we still have the first Big Ten game to go, Maryland. But I think after that, at Iowa's always a tough test for the Wolverines. Then you have to go, at Indiana right after that. So those are 2 tough games. But I think as these next couple of weeks unfold, right, what you're watching for as a Michigan fan is JJ really going to do well, because every Michigan fan is always looking at the end of the schedule, right? That's the goal.
Yes.
Get to the Big Ten championship. Beat the team down south. Beat Ohio State. Go win a Big Ten championship. That's the goal, right? So how do you, as a Michigan fan, watch these first couple games, first 3-4 games, and say, are we progressing towards that goal? Is JJ the right guy to lead us towards that goal? Can he win in Columbus? So I think that the signs you want to see from at least my vantage point, I hope you agree, Owen, or disagree. Love you to disagree. But it's those third downs. It's those boring plays. I think that's going to really decide, because I think we'll see more of it as Big Ten play picks up a little bit, as Michigan will start from the 44, 3rd down and 4. They'll give it to Gash, and he will push forward, and he's got a first up into about the 45 of the Huskies. But again, how does he develop, right? How does he deal with that adversity, that discipline, that mundanity, as you said, Owen?
I know you're looking for me to disagree, but
I don't think he can.
I don't think he can either.
Come on.
JJ does something so well. So what I want him to do is play Cade's position in addition to what he excels at. And then, you know what? You've got a 5-star quarterback. You've got a CFP championship quarterback.
Ooh. Calling it here. You heard it here first, as Orji will throw it out to Dunlap, and Dunlap's got a good play up inside the 40 to about the 39, gain of about 6.
Decent gain for the Wolverines, bringing us to a 2nd and 5. Ball on UConn's 39 here in the 4th.
Again, this is technically the 5th string quarterback, not even on the roster as well. Orji in the backfield with C.J. Stokes to his right.
2 wide receiver set, 2 tight ends. They'll keep it with Orji. Orji running, and there's a flag, but Orji will break a tackle. This probably will not count as he's up inside of the 25 to the 22. We'll check the flag. Should be. Oh, it looks like it's against the Huskies, so this could be positive play for the Wolverines. We saw the flag coming early. That's usually a tendency for holding. Let's hear what the ref says as the fans chant Orji.
And by the way, great push by Orji. A fantastic rush. He made it far.
Personal foul, illegal block below the waist. Defense, number 7. Half the distance to the goal from the end of the run, first down.
I've never heard that call. Illegal block by the defender?
I didn't see it, frankly.
But that's interesting. Nonetheless, they'll get the ball now at the 10.
The Wolverines, they have to score from here.
So now it'll be first down and goal from the 10.
Now, if I'm correct, what was the spread on this game?
48.
48. So the Wolverines have the opportunity here to cover the spread and exceed it for all of you gamblers out there. In formation now at the 10 with the first down.
So Declan Boyle, the 6th-string quarterback, is now in as he gives off to Stokes and goes forward. We haven't seen him yet. The 6'2 freshman from Novi, Michigan. So another quarterback. Michigan's got like 6 quarterbacks. I guess that's what you get with college football teams is we'll get another one coming in. Davis Warren will check right back in.
Yeah, a quick rush there, no gain. They were actually pushed back there, but the forward progress will hold them at the 10. So 2nd and 10 for the Wolverines.
2nd down technically in goal as Dunlap is to the right of Warren. 3 wide receivers on the far side, 1 tight end on the near side. Warren looks. He'll go slant short, and that one's incomplete. Looking for Cornelius Johnson. First stringer still in the game.
Bring us to a 3rd and goal now. Johnson dropped to his knees looking to grab that one. Couldn't under pressure. Decent throw, especially considering we're at, did you say 6th string now?
Yes, we are at 6 because we didn't see Alan Bowman, but he's technically the 4th-string quarterback.
So the Wolverines really putting their options in the game right now. And we'll see if the Wolverines are able to cover the spread here on this drive.
Davis Warren back in, the sophomore from L.A. He'll be in for a rude awakening once again with the weather that'll come in about the next couple months.
Yeah, that game in Columbus at the end of November, that'll be fun.
So UConn takes the timeout here on 3rd and 10. 3rd and goal technically from the 10 here in the 4th quarter. 12:51 to go. Now we're at about a quarter of the student section still here, I'd say.
Yeah, about a quarter. They're small but mighty. These are the true maize and blue faithful.
These are the fans that are looking to get a ticket for maybe a Big Ten championship or a college football playoff.
Yeah. So Slippery Rock won their game as Carl Grapentine, the PA announcer, brings in that big house tradition. That was the loudest cheer we've heard in here in some time.
I think there should be a Michigan fan course. Give them Michigan 101. You have to take it as a freshman. Learn every tradition for the first 2-3 weeks of school. Why not? I think that's a great idea.
I mean, incoming students have to take alcohol awareness. So
it should be big house awareness.
Big house awareness,
or athletic
too.
Awareness.
Throw it in with that.
Because all these traditions, I mean, Slippery Rock and the dances and the bright sides and the pump it up, there's a lot there. You gotta know your stuff.
Buying your student ticket, I think student tickets should be accessible to every student, but before they let you check out, you should have to complete a small quiz.
Little crash course.
Yeah, like very basics. But we want like there should be a question like, where did hail come from? Come on, that's easy. Like if you don't know that, I don't know if you should be having student tickets.
As it is still 45-0, we're waiting on this media timeout due to the UConn timeout.
Now the crowd is thinning throughout the rest of the stadium, but in the student section, students will just push down the moment someone leaves.
Oh,
so
100%.
They're packed in deep, right by. I want to say that's the northwest corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
I believe is the student section. While the rest of the stands of the stadium, you can start to see those blue benches appearing, but it's starkest in the student section for sure.
And I think that of course goes along with these games, the incentive for the students to say what was the fact is the fact that they can really get points towards a postseason ticket or a Big Ten, whether that be the Big Ten championship or the college football playoff. I also wanted to bring this up. I don't know if you were here last week, Owen, but that was a very interesting spot in terms of there was a rain delay last week.
Yes.
So this is very interesting to see what the Michigan Stadium did. And I talked about this a little bit on the WCBN podcast that we do on Michigan football.
Plug the podcast. Where can you find it?
We can find it on SoundCloud. So you look up WCBN Sports, you find the Michigan football podcast that has just been created that we've been starting to launch, and we'll continue out through the rest of the season. But I discussed the fact that when I went to the game last week at about 7:15, 7:30, games slated for 8, maybe I got there at 7:45, you couldn't get into the stadium because of the rain, right? So there was just mobs of students outside in the lightning.
Yes.
That seemed to me was a very big red flag, because I thought if you're a student, right, that's less safe than if the Michigan athletic department let them into the stadium, yet they didn't go to the seats, but they kept them
them
under
in
the
the
roof
concourse,
or keep them in the concourse. To me, that feels much more safer. That's got to change in the future, right?
It's a tough situation because some students, like at Michigan Stadium, it's like the 90s. You don't have cell service, so you don't know what's going on.
It was just a bad communication job. They were just standing there, and then the tickets didn't count towards the game because they couldn't scan the tickets. It was a mess, and I think they got to correct that in the future.
It was tough. I did come in. It was a great game.
As Orji will dive into the end zone. Touchdown, Wolverines. Orji kept it for 10 yards as the Wolverines cover the spread for now as they lead 51-0 after the Orji touchdown.
Yep. We'll make that 52 in a moment as Moody completes what I want to say is his 104th
Knock on wood.
extra point in a row. 104 for 104. He's in line for it now. Wait for it. Here's the snap. Kick through the uprights. So make that 52-0 over the Huskies of Yukon. Wolverines cover the spread. Also, Matthew, glad they took the timeout there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really? So with 12:44 to go, Orji again, crowd getting especially excited after the RG3 comments from week 1, dives into the end zone as Michigan leads 52-0.
A fantastic rush by him, and we'll head to another media timeout. So back-to-back media timeouts, particularly tough. It's just me. Matthew's going to take a moment. So media timeout for the next 2 minutes, 45 seconds in Michigan Stadium. Anything you want to discuss, leave it in the YouTube comments. For now, our flag bearers out on the field, waving around the Block M, blue on maize. Michigan in their home uniforms, maize pants, blue tops, and of course, college football's best helmet. The student section continues to thin. We can take a look at the upcoming slate of WCBN sports broadcasts. Of course, our daily sports report airs every weekday at 6 p.m. on WCBN FM Ann Arbor. That's 88.3 on your dial, streaming worldwide. WCBN.org and the WCBN app for the daily sports report. Any sports, athletic games not on FM you can find on the WCBN YouTube channel. Head to YouTube, look up WCBN Sports, or visit our website, WCBNsports.org. About a minute 45 remaining in this media timeout. 12:44 remaining in the game. Matthew, I see you're taking a look at out-of-town scores. Anything catching your eye?
I mean, Georgia, first off, dominating, 45-0 over Spencer Rattler-led South Carolina Gamecocks, so they haven't gotten a point. I mean, this Georgia team, just unbelievable. I mean, Stetson Bennett continuing his Heisman campaign, 284, 2 touchdowns. He killed us last year, and he's continuing to dominate behind his great tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid, Brock Bowers, is unbelievable. He is 5 for 121 and 2 scores. So Georgia dominating as Spencer Rattler, only 13 for 25 with 118 yards. He struggled. One interesting note in the Big Ten, we've got 2 good Big Ten games right now, actually 3 if you count this Northwestern game. But Indiana, they're trailing at home to Western Kentucky 27-19. Again, Michigan plays Indiana in about a couple weeks in Indiana. They're losing at home 27-19. That game is
tough.
on BTN. They're driving, though. They have the ball at their own 40. And then Purdue, they just took the lead and in the red zone, about to get some more points at Syracuse. So Syracuse beat UConn 48-14 last week. Now they're at home versus Purdue, and Purdue is overwhelming the scoreboard there. Aiden O'Connell, he's had a good day so far, 27 of 37, 224 in the score. Really without a running game for Purdue. They're more of a passing offense.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Aren't they favored to win the Big Ten West, or at least coming into the season they were?
I'm not sure on that, but they did take an early Big Ten loss.
Yeah,
to
following to Penn State. That's tough. But Big Ten East, just in general, the better half of the Big Ten.
100%. And that will change once USC and UCLA and maybe other teams come into the fold, as Moody will boot it off.
Back underway after the media timeout.
And a fair catch.
That
from
is
Rosa.
the weakest call. Caught it at probably the 4. Called the fair catch. No one was rushing him within about 20 yards. Could have ran for a little bit there.
All right, let's have some fun, because this is what we were looking forward to starting in the second half. Those front 7 guys, those rotational pieces, some of those guys, let's see them get some reps. I'm very excited for this, especially going down the stretch. How does Michigan get a pass rush? I think it starts with the depth. You got Braden McGregor in right now, number 17. You got number 18, Oki, in as well, the former 5-star from Bama. So you got 2 guys in there that are looking to make a mark, get to the quarterback. I'm fascinated to see it.
Absolutely. This is what we've been looking forward to all half.
First down and 10, Zion Turner rolling out right. He'll look to run. He'll get a couple and up to about the 29, gain of about 4, pushed out by Braden McGregor, number 17.
Decent gain there and trying to cut in on the sides, and good job by the Wolverines defense forcing him out.
So it'll be about 2nd and 5. Rosa still in, along with Burns, so both running backs in. 2 wide receivers set. You've Clearseus on the top of our screen, and then you have Flynn on the bottom near us. It's a pistol formation. 2 guys beside Zion Turner, 1 Rosa behind him, and they'll give to Rosa, and Rosa going forward. And it tackled by a bunch of Michigan defenders, only got about a yard. Maybe 2, and a 3rd down and about 3 coming up.
3rd and 3, ball still on UConn's 32. So Rosa with the rush there doesn't get quite what UConn was looking for.
And again, 3rd down situations. We talked about 3rd downs on the offensive side with J.J. McCarthy. And how did they convert? 3rd downs on the defensive side of the ball. Who gets home? Who makes the big play on 3rd down? Because 3rd down, that wins in the Big Ten. We know that from experience.
Oh, God, I love Big Ten football.
Here we go. 3rd down and 3. They'll do an end around. They'll actually give it to their running back, or kind of hybrid wide receiver running back. That is Harrison. Devontae Harrison. He is their guy that they like to use out of the backfield. And they use him in different sets as a gadget guy. So now it's a 4th down and less than 1, and they will, oh, we got a whistle. Maybe they'll check the chains. Now Michigan actually took the timeout.
Now, I don't blame them for taking this timeout. UConn lined up real quick after that 3rd down was placed by the referee. Didn't really have a chance for the defensive line to line up in time.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was just thinking, I thought he got the 1st down initially on that run by Rosa, but I guess not.
Definitely look close. They'll convert this to a full media timeout, by the way, which I have to say, in the first, we've got 11:11 on the clock right now, so we're 3 minutes and 49 seconds into this game. We've had more commercials on television than we've had football, which I think is one of the things plaguing attendance across college football.
Too many commercials. I mean, I guess that's where all the money is for cable TV now, because you got to put it into these games. You're not getting your advertisement money anywhere else. Well, but these games go on forever.
But I mean, look, the new Big Ten deal, about $1 billion right per year. You got to pay for it somehow.
Yeah.
And the people who pay will be the fans at these games when we have longer media timeouts every time. I think Fox is the worst offender right now.
Yeah, but thank God we're on ABC, I guess.
No, we're on ABC right now, but I remember last year Fox pushes the time up a little bit even further. But you got to pay for those TV contracts somehow.
And I think in a big profile spot, especially a big brand like Michigan, you're going to get more of those media timeouts because there's just more eyeballs.
The tough thing for me is, as a fan of both football but Michigan athletics as a whole, I can't determine where I stand on it because I think it hurts the production quality of the football game. And I think for brands not nearly as strong as Michigan, like you look across the board, attendance is down. But on the other hand, these big TV deals, the new Big Ten TV deal, it's not just paying for football. It's subsidizing the soccer teams, field hockey, every program besides football, men's basketball, the two profitable sports at Michigan. Even the hockey team, with their popularity, is still subsidized by these TV contracts.
Well, I think it's a matter of kind of survival of the fittest, right? Because you have these big teams. You have the Michigans, you have the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Clemsons. All of those type of teams, they're getting a boost. Ratings are up across the board. You Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, those big games, they got a lot of viewership.
Yeah.
Viewership was up 10-20%. But on the other hand, these smaller schools, they kind of start to fade out a bit because, look, they got to get in the commercials somehow, especially with these college football playoff rules that have been implemented with 4 teams, maybe with 12, whatever. There's not as much incentive to watch all these different games.
The consolidation across the board is tough. How do you feel about the loss of the regionalized conference?
Well, I think it's tough, especially for smaller programs. But I will say, as a big avid fan of college football, I am kind of I've always been disappointed with the lack of big games, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see more big games, which will be cool. Like, we're going to be able to see Michigan host a USC. That's going to be a top 10, top 20 matchup. That's going to be awesome, right? We're going to get to see Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas, Alabama, as we saw last week. So I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be different, but it definitely hurts those smaller programs. Here on a 4th down and 1 from about the 34. Need to get to the 35. In the shotgun is Millen, the new quarterback. Millen will keep, and nowhere to go. It's Oki. Off the edge, a great play by the Wolverines to force a turnover on downs.
So a good use of the timeout there by the Wolverines. Turnover on downs puts them real close to the red zone for now. So I'd expect to see Michigan run the score up further. And Connecticut, they failed to provide any sort of pocket for their quarterback. There was no such thing as the pocket on that last play.
And it was interesting, too, that they switched quarterbacks. Zion Turner, more the running quarterback, he was out of that game. So maybe something happened in terms of an injury, but he was out. They brought in Cade Millen.
Now was Millen trying to run there? That was he had no time. You couldn't even tell.
It was an option because he could have tossed it on the right, on the angle. He had his running back Rosa on the right side of him. I guess it was just blown up. A really good play again from this front seven that I wanted to see. How about Oki coming in with a nice play, number 18? Again,
that was great.
Former 5-star, very talented player. You see the athleticism.
Absolutely.
It's there.
He was on the QB in a second. No time. Like I said, there was no pocket because it just broke down so quickly, and the quarterback, even though it was an option, neither option was viable with Oki's speed.
And as we've discussed throughout the second half, the things you want to watch as a Michigan fan, because we're all talking about the future now because this game seems to be intact, is when you have to get to those bigger games, those Michigan States, Iowas, Penn States, those games. The number one concern for this defense is the pass rush, right? Because you don't have your 2 studs in Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo.
Yep.
The fact that we get to see the athleticism, to see the flashes from an Oki, to see the flashes from a Braden McGregor, Mike Morris, Jalen Harrell, those are the guys you want to see as a Michigan fan kind of show themselves up. I don't care it's the second half against UConn. Let's see them in real live game action get to the quarterback, and that's what we just saw from Oki.
Oki looked great right there, and that does give me some confidence going into the Big Ten season. This whole team gives me confidence as we move towards the Big Ten season.
Well, I do think, we haven't talked about this yet, but as a team holistically on all 3 sides, this might be the most talented team they've had in a while.
A very long
including
while.
last year.
I agree. I mean, like you said, Hutchinson, Ojabo, they stood out. They did a great job for the Wolverines, and they really did help secure not only that Big Ten championship, but that win over Ohio State. I still remember that call of Ojabo. last year in the Big Ten or the Ohio State game. But Michigan has shifted from like standouts into a more well-rounded program with more options on offense, defense, and again, special teams.
Well, I think it's certainly for the pass rush. You have more options, as I've just mentioned. And then the other thing is, in the running back game, right? You have two guys. You have Blake Corum. You have Donovan Edwards, who did not play today due to an injury.
Mm-hmm.
And this offensive line has more options than last year. So there feels like there's more options, especially offensive line, wide receiver, pass rush, defensive end, defensive line.
And we talked about it earlier, but I think as J.J. McCarthy shapes up and starts to take his true form, the former 5-star, he'll really come into his own and give that offensive line more options because of how versatile he is.
And I think today we've seen that offensive line kind of hold up. He's had a lot of time to throw. I mean, he was sitting back there, Blake Corum, 1271. He's been able to throw the ball, and he's had time. Every game will not be like this where J.J. McCarthy has all day to throw. I get it, but it's good to see that offensive line, while experienced, continue to play well.
Bowman in the game for Michigan.
As C.J. Stokes runs it for about 3 or 4, up to about the 27 of UConn. So Alan Bowman, technically the 4th string, now checks out, and we get another quarterback. We get Declan Boyle once again.
Was that Bowman's first appearance of the game?
First snap of the game. So he's technically the 4th string.
So
Boyle is technically not on the depth chart.
It's interesting that they bring in Boyle just to give a handoff.
Here's Boyle. He'll throw it on the left, and he's got a nice gain.
I'm sorry, I meant Bowman, not Boyle.
So Bowman, yeah, so now that was Boyle. So now Boyle will check out once again for Bowman. Catch was made by Omorian Walker, another freshman receiver in this loaded receiver room. I mean, if you look at the stats, you look at the players, Michigan fans are all familiar with Ronnie Bell, A.J. Henning, Roman Wilson, Schoonmaker at the tight end spot. With all that, they are loaded. As Gash will take the football. He's up inside the 20 for another first down for the Wolverines.
So the Wolverines marching on towards the end zone. Should be a first down from about the 19.
And it also feels like if Michigan, because like the number one concern without Caden McNamara is you were in a power running system last year, and it's more of a spread zone. So what happens when you have to be boring and run the football? Today, at least, they've run the football very well between the tackles in that power running game.
Absolutely. Well, they do a good job converting, and UConn is known for its ability to block the run.
We've got a
substitution offense, 12 men, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So miscommunication there from the Wolverines, and it will still be first down. It will just be a first down and 15 from about the 25 for the Wolverines.
First down and 15.
So Bowman in the shotgun. He will give it off for about a 3-yard gain.
Wolverines will not recover the penalty deficit. Move into 2nd and 13 with the ball on the 22nd.
Second down and 13.
So 2nd down and 13 for the Wolverines. With Bowman in the shotgun. So Bowman will give it off once again, breaking tackles. Is Leon Franklin. We didn't actually have him on the roster. He was actually not on the roster, so that is Leon Franklin, and he gains about 1 yard or 2.
Michigan is so deep right now. They're moving into players that I've never heard of.
We're trying here. As Sanderstel, we know Sanderstel. He's back in at receiver again, converted defensive player. Now at receiver, he was at receiver, had a big catch in the Ohio State game, and now a 3rd down and 11 from the 20. Here is Bowman looking. He'll look to run. Bowman, he'll toss it off. Good play to Franklin. Franklin inside the 5, dives end zone. Touchdown, Wolverines.
A great job as he was tackled at the very end there to just extend the arm, secure the touchdown for Michigan.
So the Wolverines, I mean, with players that we are struggling to figure out if they're even on the roster, go right down the field and score a touchdown once again. I mean, that was a guy that was not even the roster in Leon Franklin. Comes down the field, he had 2 attempts, catches a pass, and is right into the end zone for a touchdown. How about that? Michigan leading 58-0. Extra point is up and good. And the Wolverines pouring it on here at the Big House.
Relentless right now against UConn. Notably, not Jake Moody for the extra point. It was Tommy Bowman. It was good. That'll bring us to 59-0 over the University of Connecticut Huskies.
And now we are at the point where could be maybe a half towards maybe a third of the stadium is filled now, maybe a quarter at this point, as fans after that touchdown starting to exit the seats, not just in the student section, across the board.
Oh, absolutely. Someone's going to take a photo of this, post it, and say, oh, the Michigan fans aren't loyal. They're loyal. It's just no one wants to watch a 59-0 football game.
And again, this is the problem with scheduling these games, right?
Yeah.
You're only going to get attendance for one half. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. You're only going to get maybe 3 quarters. But once you get into the 59-0 range, fans tend to get a little bit bored.
It's just too bad that they couldn't begin the season with one competitive game, like you said.
But it doesn't matter, I guess, because they're about to be 3-0.
Yeah.
As interesting development happening, Northwestern losing at home by 2 touchdowns to Southern Illinois, while Purdue, as we mentioned, they were up 15-10 in the red zone. Now they trail 25-15 to Syracuse, so that game has taken a bit of a toll, a different way of going, because obviously they've now surrendered the lead, Purdue. Rutgers leads 10-7 at Temple, and Georgia continuing to pile on up 48-0.
It's that's what I love about college football. Plenty of games follow exactly what you expected, but some don't go the way you were thinking. Northwestern, that makes that Nebraska loss to them early in Ireland even worse. Yeah,
Nebraska's getting walloped at home by Oklahoma.
Yeah,
despite being up 7-0.
Yeah,
and a first down and 10. Millen still in the game for UConn, so they switch from Turner to Millen as that carry goes nowhere. That was Rosa once again.
Yeah, no gain on the carry. UConn on their own 25 after the touchback off the kickoff.
Second down and 9. Burns in the backfield. To the right of Millen. 4 wide receiver set, no tight ends in. Back to throw. Millen looks. It is incomplete.
Millen's pass incomplete. Intended for Ethan Williams.
Williams was the target. Good D from Sean Harris.
Yeah, Harris was right on him immediately, making the tackle even though Williams didn't even grab the ball.
That was Kayshawn Harris, number 36, entering the game at corner. Third down and 9 from UConn's own 26. Michigan shows blitz off the right side. Millen just figures it out, changes the play. Millen back to throw. Got time. He looks right, left side. It is caught but short of the sticks. Good tackle again from Kayshawn Harris. Williams was the target. He caught it, but just a couple yards short. And we'll get another punt from UConn.
4th and 9 won't gain much for the Huskies. So that's the first completion we've seen in a while. So we'll give them credit for that at least.
Good throw. I mean, man-to-man coverage. Good coverage again from Kayshawn Harris. And we'll get a punt here from the Huskies. It is Carrington. And Jake Paul is deep for the Wolverines, so no A.J. Henning once again. Punt is short at about the 35. Fair caught at about the 36. And we get to see the host of Michigan quarterbacks come right back on the field with about 6:58 to go in this game. Michigan dominating 59-0. Dominating just about every category.
Yeah, it's UConn hasn't touched the board. There have been no moments where I've thought, wow, UConn might have an opportunity here. It's Michigan's encompassing them.
It's been a complete shellacking.
Shellacking. Yeah.
As Michigan leads in terms of yards, I mean, they have over 400 yards of offense, 423 compared to 106. 266 through the air, 157 through the ground. So it's been a balanced game. As the carry is given to the Wolverines as helmets come off.
One Husky will lose their helmet, and they're number 23. No, excuse me. Hard to see from the vantage point.
Danny Hughes was the ball carrier. Looks like Brad Robbins has now entered the game playing tight end, the Michigan punter. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
They're just having fun.
And there's a gain of about a yard, tackled by a bunch of Michigan, UConn defenders. That was Leon Frankel. Carry Donahue. Excuse me. So we have Donahue and Hughes coming in for the Wolverines. Hughes checks right back in. So a 3rd down and 3.
See if Michigan can convert here.
They'll give it to Hughes as he stumbles, so he didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. And that'll bring up about a 4th down and 3, and it looks like the Wolverines will punt it away.
Yeah, he slipped up there after the handoff. So 4th and 3, Michigan forced to punt.
Feels like maybe the 2nd punt of the day?
Yeah, not too bad, not too shabby.
3rd. Some interesting stats I wanted to bring to your attention, Owen. The average yards per play. That is something that Michigan wasn't great at due to the lack of explosiveness. Today they are at 6.8. Kind of brought down, but the average completion, average yards per completion, 13.3. That is a much higher number than when Cade McNamara was the quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, that average is still taking into account the second half, which 5 minutes remaining in the game are almost through. So probably was even higher when McNamara was in the game. And compare that to UConn's average yards per completion. That's 4.3 for them.
Yeah, no. And I think the other good stat for the Wolverines is penalties, right? They only have 3 penalties for 19 yards, which is something you want to hang your hat on as a coaching staff, right? You want to keep your team disciplined, and I think Jim Harbaugh has always done a good job. Despite criticism, he's always done a really good job of keeping his team disciplined throughout the entirety of a game, keeping his team in check, and we've seen more of that today.
Yeah, absolutely. The Wolverines look disciplined, and I think it speaks to the culture of the team that they can have this many backups in and still perform as well as they have.
As Millen will run to the left side, he tripped up, and then he got walloped.
Yeah, that might have been a loss for yards, in fact.
2nd down and 13.
Ball on the UConn 13. So I think that play as a whole is a metaphor for UConn's offense so far, or throughout the whole game. 4:42 remaining here in the 4th quarter.
So Millen in the gun. He'll look right, and he's got a completion to Nigel Fitzgerald. Good game there up into about the 20.
And fans continue to file out of the stadium. It's quite barren at this point. Student section, there's a point where the student section is just going to stay the same the rest of the game, and we have reached that point. These are the people who want to sing varsity.
3rd down and 6 from their own 20. Back to throw is Millen. He looks right. He's got a man. It's Burns, but the throw is underthrown and an incompletion. Good coverage on the play by Oki.
Throw was a little short there.
So the punt team will come out for UConn once again. And I wanted to transition here as we end off this game. We end off week 3 for the Wolverines. And they continue their hunt for the Big Ten Championship. What is your feeling on this team?
I feel good. We've been talking all game about it, but the combination of McCarthy under center with this O-line and the defense holding strong, I think the Wolverines really do have a strong opportunity here.
And, of course, is that one of his fair cut? He got run into again.
I don't think a fair catch was called. The punt was real short, landed at about the 45 in Michigan's territory.
So Jake Thaw was the returner. He, I guess, did not call fair catch. I thought I saw this on. So no call there. They'll get the ball at about the 44. But again, going back to that point.
Yep.
This team right now, and everything leads towards. This is the constant theme. Everything is leading towards November, late November, when you have to play Ohio State in Ohio State. So everything leads towards then. And each week you want to see this team improve and improve as the competition gets tougher, as the games get tougher, as it gets colder out, as it gets more muddy, as you can't throw the ball over the field. You have to run the ball a little bit. You have to use your offensive line, as that carry is given for about a gain of about 5. But things start to change, right? Things change in the Big Ten. We know that. And it's going to get tougher to win.
Absolutely.
And the question for me is, can J.J. McCarthy do the boring stuff well? If he can do the boring stuff well, that'll help their chances going forward.
Absolutely. Because under Cade's leadership, you saw a few crucial wins at Wisconsin was a big one. I remember that.
As that ball is kept in a good gain from the Wolverines. Danny Hughes once again. He's inside the 40 to about the 36. First down for the Wolverines.
Another helmet there lost for UConn player.
Out for one play.
So he has to obviously come off the field because that is the rule in college. But again, discipline, right? I think that's the key word of the day. If you were to say, for J.J. McCarthy and this Michigan Wolverine offense as a UConn player is injured, that's going to be the key, especially for the offensive side of the ball. They have the talent. They have the speed. And I think for the defense, it's about, does the depth fill the production? Does the depth that we've been talking about constantly, can that fill the production of Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, or at least come close? Because they need some of that to beat an Ohio State. They really do. And an interesting stat we just got from our partner Owen Klein, who called the first half of the game. The over-under on this game, guess what it is, Owen?
I can't guess. I just saw it.
59. 59. The score is 59-0 for context. There's penalty flag. Let's see this call.
Referees will.
False start, offense number 66. 5-yard penalty, first down.
That is something certainly Jim Harbaugh will not like.
Yeah.
A false start.
Not something you want to see this late in the game. That's just sloppiness from the Wolverines.
And I always find it interesting when you are a player for the Wolverines, how invested are you into the second half when those backups that you scrimmage with every single day are playing in the game and you get to root for them?
Yeah, absolutely.
As that throw is over to Mike Sanders still getting his catch. Again, we've talked about that storyline, the former offensive player who had the big catch. He is now on the defensive side, but getting a couple reps at receiver back into his old habitat.
Yeah, that was a good catch. Recovers the penalty deficit, gain a 2 from the original spot. So the Wolverines put themselves in decent scoring formation right now. 2 minutes, 15 seconds left in the game. Ball on the UConn's 34. They're at the over-under. We'll see if they can put a few more on the board.
And the quarterback manning the Wolverines is Brandon Mann. So another quarterback for the Wolverines as he'll give it off to Danny Hughes. Danny Hughes inside the 30 up to about the 27-yard line, close to a first down. So it'll be a third down and short.
Yeah, stat about this, by the way, that I noticed from ABC's telecast of the game. This is the first time in Michigan history that the Wolverines have put 50 on the board in all 3 of the first 3 games of the season.
I think that might be a flawed stat because I've had a pretty easy schedule to get 50.
Yeah.
Cupcake
on cupcake on cupcake.
Third down and 1 from the 27. In the shotgun is Manning. Hughes to his right. They'll give to Hughes. Hughes got a first. He's up inside the 25. So the Wolverines continuing to lean on that offensive line that continues to dominate these lesser opponents.
I don't think there's much else to say is the thing. It's hard to provide color commentary when all there is to say is that the Wolverines are dominating. We've got backups in just dominating UConn starters right now. I think that's the best way to summarize.
And I think now we've entered the point in the game where the Wolverines will kneel it. So the Wolverines in week 3. So finally these cupcake schedule games are over. Michigan winning today 59-0. Next week will be the start of the real season, right? Week 1. Let's call it week 1 next week against Maryland. That's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, coverage. I think Zach Linfield's on the call. We have 3 other guys on the call. I don't know if you guys are.
I'm not. I'm not back for a while.
All right, but we've got 4 guys on the call next week. It's the start of the Big Ten season. I can't wait. The weather's going to be colder. It's going to feel like football season. No more shiny new toys. Get me some real football in the trenches. We got the Wolverines and the Terrapins coming up next week live from the Big House in the final game of September and the final home game to start the year for the Wolverines. And that makes, as they're showing up on the big screen right now, that is the 979th win all time for the Wolverines, most in Division I history. And that'll do it for us. I mean, any final thoughts you want to close this with?
Well, I'm excited for the rest of the season. I'm excited for Big Ten play like you are to get underway because I think the Wolverines have put a real special team together. I won't be back on the call for a while, not till we head down to Piscataway, New Jersey. I don't know how to say it. Piscataway for Rutgers. And I'm hoping that by then the Wolverines have really shaped up because this is a special team that can go far.
It feels like everything's starting to build up towards that Big Ten season. We'll see you next week, noon Eastern start for Michigan and Maryland. Of course, we got coverage throughout the week from a host of different sports on WCBN. But for Owen, Crain, and Matthew Levy, so long. Have a good day here in Michigan. It's a beautiful day out. Go enjoy some sunshine and go Blue.